Pictures, there we go. Almost used my time. Okay, when I practice it, my computer shut down right in the middle of it
Hey,
too, so I'm
it's
used to
perfect
it.
timing, right? All good.
Thank you. All right, so we got a few cool things that I want to show you about our community this year and the staff and the PTA and the surrounding community. And we're going to go through a few of these pictures. The top left one means a lot to actually my school. For years and years and years, they have had a Halloween get-together ran by the PTA, and the staff all dress up, they decorate the gym, there's a trunk or treat. And the reason I picked this picture is because one of those staff members, actually when she was a child at Huddleston, experienced the same thing, and now this many years later, she's able to give that same thing for the kids. So we appreciate our connection with the PTA and the community. Below that, we're really excited to have Deputy Ferguson as our SRO. We're very excited about the partnership between the Sheriff's Office and the division. He is a wonderful part of our team and has made a huge difference in just this year, so we're glad to keep him and for years to come. But at the top one, our school counselor is really instrumental in doing a lot of our spirit things. This one happens to be our kickoff for the SOLs, and let me tell you, some staff were brave enough to get up there and do a dance-off, others were not, just like myself. But we had a great kickoff for our kids, and they really cheered each other on and support, and so we love that community. That's the whole building together sitting right there. If we look down the picture with the fire department there, that's one of our teachers. She's been teaching in our building for over 30 years, and we had a community day, and she actually taught that student years and years ago, so it was really neat to see that connection. He's in charge of our Huddleston Fire Department, and now got to come back and see one of his former teachers, and she was so bragging on him when he was in first grade. The next picture we have is just talked about our book fair, and we were really intentional about linking that up with our Grandparents Week, and so every day during the week, grandparents came out to different grade levels for lunch. They got to go into the book fair and buy some books. And the cool thing is the money that we raised, we were able to buy books for kids that didn't purchase some. So everyone in our building was able to get some, just promoting literacy at home. The next picture there is we recently did a PTA school connection. It was a glow dance. The kids really loved it. We decorated the gym in black lights. The kids came out all in different white colors and their faces painted. And it was just really a cool time for the kids. We're going to the next one. I got more pictures. All right, so that top one is still part of our community care, our community day, and pre-K through 2 got to go out and honk the horn, see the ambulance, the fire truck, and the police. So it was a really neat experience and linking that community with our school. On the left side, we had an honorary bus driver for the day. Dr. Bergen came out and drove a bus for us, but we really do appreciate our drivers. They help us out a lot, and they really work with the kids, and they love the kids. This particular bus driver makes sure kids get ice cream at lunch if they can't otherwise get it, and so we're really excited about the connection that they bring to our school. That top picture in the middle is we recently, maybe it was in the end of March, had a bingo for books night, and that's a PTA and school Title I connection. And honestly, it was just a fun night to play bingo, and every kid that came they actually earned 3 and 4 and 5 books, and the feedback we got from that was, these are really amazing books. Who picked these out? So shout out goes to our librarian, our bookkeeper, who made sure we got books that kids actually liked. And so that was a fun night. Directly below that, we showcased our partnership with the high school. They actually had a mobile, their theater program, so they came out with the bus, unloaded, set up, and all our kids got to see them put on a little part of their skit or their play. And a neat part there is half the kids that were putting that on were previous Huddleston students, and the staff there were like, can you believe, is that who I think it is? So they got to see their students from years and years ago now showcased on that stage. Just below that one, we held 3 different musicals this year, and every single one of them was a packed house. People out in Huddleston, they definitely love to hear their kids sing and dance and play, and our music teacher does a wonderful job putting it all together, but we're really proud of that community connection as well. The top picture and sort of the one that's connected to it, we did a PTA Title I event out at Food Lion right there in Bedford, or closer to New London, and we were so excited to bring this partnership back. They've done it before, and it was a Food Lion math night, so our kids got to go there, and they kind of spoiled us. Every few minutes they did a raffle and gave away a gift card. There was a cake decorating station, which that just had the longest line. The kids loved doing that, but most importantly, there were math questions. Every grade level had a different set of questions they had to go through and do, and so the kids had a lot of fun at that event. On the right side, some of our kids in our tag program got to participate in Market Day, and our tag teacher, Ms. Teal, she did a wonderful job of facilitating the opportunity for these kids to just show off how really, really strong they are. They actually invented their own little product from start to finish and put it out, and they ended up winning most innovative at Market Day right there out of all schools in Bedford County, so we're really proud of our kids and the things that they accomplished. That last picture, just speaking more to our community connection, is actually we started a Watchdogs program this year, and it's a way for parents to come volunteer. And the dogs part of Watchdogs stands for Dads of Great Students, but we encourage moms, grandmas, aunts, uncles, anyone to come on in and volunteer. We know it's sometimes a sacrifice because they have to take a day off, but man, that connection is huge. We always make sure they have a day that's set up for fun, and they move a lot. They're in resources and recesses and lunch, but the feedback we've gotten is really, really great, and they just love doing it. This particular one came in 3 or 4 times, and he ended up coming in for our field day, so I made sure I got a picture of him there, but we're excited to continue that on for next year as well. There are some other community connections that I didn't necessarily put pictures up. One of them we had with, it was Palestine Baptist Church. And I don't know if this is typecasting, but they asked me to be a chili cook-off judge, and so I really enjoyed doing that. One of my teachers came with me, and that was a lot of fun. They've also sponsored some of our events at our schools, so we're appreciative of that, of those sponsors or those things as well. Radford Baptist Church is another one. They actually run our Good News Club, and then they also have adopted our school, and they've treated the staff and stuff to a lot of fun things during the year, so we're appreciative of that connection as well. We have Food for Kids, which is a weekend food program, and right now my school has 216 students in the base, not including pre-K, but 96 of them actually benefit from the weekend food bag, so it's a really huge program for our kids, and let me tell you, they look forward to that Thursday truck being delivered because they know they get to take that home that weekend, so we're excited about that, and of course we have summer kicking off with Good Neighbors is going to be helping with that as well, and we're with Manita. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about our CSIP goals and working through, and you're going to see in a minute, working through with my leadership team, trying to figure out, and we go back to that, we're a place to grow for all, right? And so our goals that we initially set for our IXL is we really were aiming at 100% of our students. And the thought behind this, right, because it's sometimes hard to sell 100%, right? Because we always want to make our goal and on paper look like we did what we were supposed to do exactly, but for us, focusing 100% was meaning we would rather hit or focus on 100% and miss it than to focus on a lower number and hit it, okay? So that's our thought pattern behind this. And this is our first year utilizing IXL. It's my first year as principal there. And so we definitely have a sounding board to go off of. And you can see that we didn't necessarily meet our goal in every grade level, but we definitely have a place that we're gonna start off at, okay? And I'm not gonna read the individual numbers around there, but we had some, we have some strengths and we have some grows, and we're really excited about knowing right now a platform to boost off of. I also included 3rd, 4th, and 5th as far as what the correlation would have been for SOL scores, the projected SOL scores, and you can see those there, right there. Right now, as a we're projected to meet accreditation standards. Not where we want to be right now, but it's definitely a place that we're gonna start and keep climbing up. Cool things we're already starting working in, we've already scheduled it on the first week back, but the supervisor for language arts is coming out and we're gonna roll through benchmark and just rock it out next year. So we're really excited about some of those things. I also included, there it is. This is sort of a 3-year average and then what we're projecting for this 4th year. We did dip, and so that is something we are concerned about, but we're also focused on improving that for our kids and the community. But I wanted to make sure I can showcase that as well throughout the slides. All right, so our next one with math, we did this very similar goal. And I should have said this, I don't know if you're familiar with IXL. IXL is a program that we utilize for a diagnostic tool, and the people at IXL say students should, on average, earn 10 points per month. That's why we picked 80 from September to April, okay? That's how we were trying to gauge that. And the sad part, not sad part, but we have great growth. We had so many kids that hit 70, we just couldn't count it in our numbers, but we were so proud of their growth anyway. Here's the math results, did better than we did in language arts as far as the IXL. And if you look at third grade, what our projected SOL scores with growth, those kids all rocked it out on that SOL test. We're super, super proud of them on their first real big test like that. And as a combined total, you can see we're projected to meet accreditation standards. We slightly improved from last year. You can see the 3 years, they tapered down a little bit. We've slightly improved from last year to this year. We're pleased with that, but we still have work to go as we continue. All right, so the next one was a goal towards science. And currently, at this current school year, Huddleston was accredited based on a 3-year average, okay? We are at a 69.5%, which they rounded to 70. So we knew, even though we weren't warned in this area, this is something we wanted to focus on because it's been a difficult thing for the last 3 years, or 2 years, I should say. We didn't quite hit the 70%, but we did make some improvements. And I'm going to show you the 4-year comparison. It shows 2019, and that would have been a year before the test would have changed to more of a reading test. But we have grown since at least the last 2 years. We made between last year and this year. Last year was a 59%, and this year would be a 66. So if you're looking at the R10 or a reduction of the failure rate, we were able to accomplish it that way, but we've already had lots of talks with our science department and my school teachers about how we're going to continue to push that for next year. We made gains. We were all hoping for bigger than that, and our kids did they worked really hard, and we were proud of them, and it's a hard test. But next year we're looking forward to doing things even better there. This actually one was a lot of fun to actually calculate. So we were warned in the area of attendance. Last year our chronic absenteeism was 22.39%. The year before was at 17, and that year that was over there was 6%, which I would love to get back to that one in the years to come. But right here, what we did is we worked. We did some incentives and such, but I'll tell you about the documentation we had sending home. The division has 3-day letters, 5-day letters, 10-day letters. So we sent out almost 150 different letters to different family members, and some of those letters, about 40 of them, required principal meetings and conferences. And a lot of parents actually didn't know about the accreditation based on attendance, right? So we had sent out the newsletter from the superintendent. We had sent out our own newsletter just reinforcing that, but sometimes people may have missed it. So we had a lot of families just saying, man, I didn't know my kindergartner even couldn't do anything with the accreditation. And so as far as making the 15% of our students, our student body, like I said, is 216. And for us, if 32 students would have missed more than 15%, more than 10%, we would have hit that 15%. So we had 31. So we just made the bar by 14.4% is what we're looking at. So we're really excited about that. Some of the incentives, every day we did daily attendance winners, meaning you just had to be there to win. We announced 2 over the loudspeakers. If you weren't there, your name got put back in the pot, but at the end of the year, everyone was able to win. Plus, every week we celebrated the classroom or rooms that had the best attendance, and that was they got ice cream or chips if they wanted that at lunch. So every Friday at 9, we would announce the winners. We would interrupt instruction to announce the winners. And let me tell you, at 9:10, if we didn't announce that, we'd have kids come into the office saying, hey, wait, who won? Did we win? And they were all mapping it out in their classroom. So we were super excited about that too. And we're going to continue that. And there's some other things that we're going to do, recognizing our perfect attendance winners and such. So we are very proud that we've made our mark there, but we're going to continue working on that next year. All right, so some of the This honestly is just to thank the school board for the support and the division for the support in our little building. We're getting a new roof, and they're actually working on it right now. Our walls are being freshly painted, doors are being painted, and it's going to be a new building for the staff and students as we come back in August. So we're really appreciative of that. I know it's a sacrifice and such, so I appreciate you guys being willing to do that. And that's our staff picture. We're small but mighty. Anyway, that's all I had.
Questions?
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
Say it again?
I say keep up the good work.
Thank you. Yeah.
I like what you're doing with Food Line and Market Day. The more hands-on the kids are learning is so important. And I love that you're coordinating with other churches in the area. That's awesome.
They've really adopted us, and we're really excited.
I'd love to encourage more and more schools to do the same, because it is a community school, right? So that's awesome. I had the attendance incentives also that you're using. Kids love candy or ice cream or whatever, something special. So hyping that up is awesome, and so good job on that. I just wanted to ask a couple questions. Science has been kind of touch and go in all of the different schools. And again, hands-on stuff is where it's at. So have you guys, I know that we're trying to push for more hands-on stuff. I wanna make sure that the teachers have the supplies they need for that and the organization for that and the training for that. Has that happened? Are you working on that? What is?
Yeah, so Supervisor Kapler is in charge of science, and she's been wonderful in bringing things out for us and making sure that we're able to have those things. Our teachers have also been pretty creative and doing some of those hands-on activities and such with the kids. They honestly, they really, really love those kind of things. And so we always would like more, and we're actually going to be tapping into, as a building, IXL, even for science. Next year, there's not everything that's completely aligned, but it's another way for us to show our kids some of the information. At least assessing that, yeah, but the hands-on things are huge. You're absolutely right. We did a science fair, and I could have put some pictures up there too. The kids just really love that kind of stuff, and families were involved, and man, some of those families were way more proud than the kids were, but you can see them glowing on their face. But yeah, the hands-on things, I agree.
Mark, any questions? Yeah, so
Thank you.
one question that I do have is around reading, and I apologize if I missed it. But what is your data showing or telling you with the decline from 2023 to this year being projected?
Sure, so we went down by, I think it was 6 percentage points from last year. In our little building, one student equates to 1%, okay? And so just because we had 100 test takers, for us, it was that was the difference from last year to this year, at least maintaining. We had 6 less students this year who passed the test than did last year. Some of it is reading ability, some of it can be frustration on a day. That's something we're continuing to work on, is the one, stress tolerance for the test, because the reading test is hard. But that's one thing we focus on is we do have students that we've identified to add some additional supports for next year based on this test this year. That's what our data shows, at least.
Okay. All right, any other questions? All right, thank you. All right, Ms. Lee.
See if this works now.
So hello everyone, I'm John A. Lee and I am the principal of Manita Elementary, home of the bees. Our vision at Manita is to cultivate a community of lifelong learners by empowering students to achieve excellence and self-confidence. Our mission is Manita Elementary will be a safe, nurturing environment, engaging students in relevant and rigorous educational experiences through quality instruction, parent and community collaboration. We have a lot to celebrate at Manita. As I go through the presentation, you will see lots of pictures because we love taking pictures. We have been using Facebook and posting a lot of pictures on that, and parents absolutely love it. This year we celebrated our bus drivers for Bus Driver Appreciation Day, as well as our nutrition workers. Students and the SCA actually started this, where they had a poster board, had all the students to sign it, and it was posted out. So when the bus drivers came through, they seen the poster. We gave them gifts, got on the bus, gave them gifts, and the same with our nutrition workers, because they are very important. Food for Kids is another thing I want to celebrate, because they provided 48 meals for our students. The board actually meets monthly, and I'm part of that board. So I attend those meetings, and we are so grateful for them as well. And I will not go through every picture because I have so many, but I will talk about some of them. Spirit Days are huge at Manita. Parents love it. And even when parents come in to volunteer, if they know it's a Spirit Day, for instance, Kindness Day, parents came in, they had on orange. So we sent a calendar home every month, and on that calendar, it lists every Spirit Day for the month, as well as other events that we have going on in the school. Bus drivers also receive this calendar, so they know what's going on. And I like to go around and take pictures on the Spirit Days, and then at the end of the day, they will be posted most of the time on Facebook. So that's really big at Manita, and we love that. Family involvement. The doors are always open for parents, and we have a lot of parents that come in and eat lunch with their students even on days that aren't planned. We had Veterans Day, so veterans in the community and parents who were former veterans came in. That was great. The kids put on a little musical. The gymnasium was full with parents. Grandparents' Day, we do a luncheon, and we normally, Grandparents' Day, as well as our spring family luncheon, is arranged around our book fair days. So when they come eat lunch with their student, they go to the book fair, they purchase books. In fact, some of the grandparents said, "Miss Lee, you really set us up with this because we have to go buy books for our students." But it's just a great time. And we have so many parents come out, it's separated. So we may have kindergarten and first grade one day. Third grade another day, and it's just the entire week. So that's wonderful. That's and that has been something that has been going on at Manita, and I just wanted to continue that. Community. If you look at the picture in the middle, because this was very special, Palestine Baptist Church, they sent me an email last year and they said, "We want to purchase things for your teachers." So they sent teachers a Google document, and teachers put a wish list together. The day before teachers went home for winter break, they came out and they set up all of the gifts that they had purchased teachers in the library, and they received so many great things. If you come to our building, the wreaths that are on the front door that say welcome, they purchased those for us. And the reason why we're in our pajamas is because that was pajama day. Stanton River High School, the football team, they came out the first week of school in the morning and greeted our students as they got off the bus. And the students loved it so much. As an SOL incentive, we contacted the high school again. So a few of their football players came out and they played kickball with our 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders. And then pre-K through 2 was their audience. So we went down on the field and we just had a kickball game, and it was just so much fun. Students walked around and talked to former teachers that they had, so that was a great time as well. I also want to thank so many of the local organizations that have donated to us, and I do have a list that I want to read off, because there were so many and I didn't want to leave anyone off. Palestine Baptist Church, Quaker Baptist Church, Radford Baptist Church, Huddleston Church of God Prophecy, Bella Vita, Cilantro Grill. Our PTA, actually for Teacher Work Week, they contacted Bella Vita and Cilantro Grill in Manita, and they donated lunch to all our staff. Manita Fire Department, on field day, they came out with the fire truck, set up the water hose, sprayed the kids. That was a great time. They set up the dunk tank, and actually our SRO, which we are so fortunate to have, Zach Miller, he was in the dunk tank. So that was a great day. Good Neighbors, the after school program, and they had a theater show, and some of our students participated in that. They had someone come out and teach them different theater And they put on a play. So at the end of it, and it was like a 4-week training for the students. At the end of the training, they put on a show and parents came out and watched it. So we will be partnering with them as well for summer. Parent volunteers. Again, I can't thank our parents enough. They came out for field day, career day, and this year for career day, it was all parents. So parents came out and set up booths in the gym and the students went around. That was a great time. Also, our parents volunteered for Teacher Work Week. So the entire week, we had 2 or 3 parent volunteers come in and they monitored the cafeteria. So teachers were able to have duty-free lunch for that entire week. They also do that periodically. They'll say, Ms. Lee, just call if you want us to come out. We'll monitor the cafeteria so your teachers can have duty-free lunch. So we are grateful for our parents. PTA involvement. My PTA did go through a transition this year as far as the PTA board, but that did not stop them for doing things and helping us out. Again, dinner for back to school night, that entire back to school night, they supplied dinner. We had a bingo night, booth through with the booth through grams, and what the booth through grams are is students would write on a little sheet of paper what they liked about different people and then just pass them out. So that was really fun. Candygrams and our Santa shop, which is set up in the gym, and students are able to go to the Santa shop and purchase gifts for their families. And one great thing about this, no student goes home without something. So the PTA makes sure that if a child does not have monies to purchase something, they will give it to them. Family Sweetheart Dance, and this was new. This year was the first year that we had this. But it wasn't just for students, it was also for their families. So after school in the gym, they had the PTA sponsored a Sweetheart Dance. They sold hot dogs, chips, cookies, and it was a great time. And as you can see in the picture at the bottom, our students dressed up. Some of them had on suits, the little girls had on cute little evening gowns. So that was a fun time for everyone as well. And then again, the food for Teacher Appreciation Week, the PTA set that up for the entire week. My CSIP goals, and I focused on reading, math, and attendance. My leadership team and I, we used our PALS data as well as SOL scores from previous years to develop our CSIP goals. And our goal for reading was by May 24th, 2024, 80% of our students will meet high academic expectations by demonstrating mastery of grade level reading skills, by meeting the grade level benchmarks according to PALS for grades K through 2, or by demonstrating measurable growth and/or passing the reading SOL for grades 3, 4, and 5. Prior to SOLs, we did have a literacy night. We had a really great turnout for literacy night, and teachers created little reading packets for parents to take home. Also, no student went home without a book. So at the end of the night, every student left with a book. We had pizza and drinks in the cafeteria, and that's where the night started off. So literacy night, and we purposely had it in March, right before SOLs, just to share with parents some different ways and strategies, things they could do at home with their student. Our projected results for spring 24, overall 82.95% pass rate for reading. So I am very pleased with that. It's specifically with implementing a new reading program, Benchmark, but my teachers dived right in and they implemented it with fidelity, and we've seen great success with it. So I am very pleased with that. And this is just a graph to show where we are as far as reading. Again, for our math CSIP goal, we used previous SOL's test as well as teacher input. By May 2024, 75% of our students will meet high expectations by demonstrating mastery of grade level math content, by meeting the grade level benchmarks according to IXL Math Diagnostic for K through 2, or by demonstrating measurable growth and or passing the math SOL. We do have a projected pass rate of 82% for math. And that's just a graph demonstrating that. Chronic absenteeism. This was something that I knew we had to hit hard this year. We did have a lot of fun with it, but as you can see, 27% is extremely high, so we knew we had some work to do. At the beginning of the year, we had an attendance team that consisted of myself, my secretary, bookkeeper, guidance counselor, and I really wanted it to be people that are in the front office, that are face-to-face with parents. Our goal was for 85% of the student population will be present at least 90% of the time. And with a goal this high based on previous results, we knew we had to work. So at the beginning of the year, one thing that was implemented was an attendance assembly each quarter. So each quarter, based on, in homeroom classes as well, but students, if they had perfect attendance, they received a certificate, medals, and we had this in the gymnasium. After the first couple quarters, we decided students need to hear something pertaining to attendance every day. Waiting to the end of the quarter for elementary students, I just did not feel like that was enough. So we developed something called Beekeepers. And what Beekeepers, when classes had perfect attendance, Officer Miller would put on our bee mascot. And I would escort him to the classrooms who had perfect attendance. And we ordered these little stuffed bees from Amazon. Never would have thought it would be as much success as it was. And I get so excited talking about it. But the kids just loved it. We took pictures. And as you can see from this graph, we kept data each quarter. At the end of the year, we had 7 students that had perfect attendance. And I said, I want to do something special for these 7 students, just to let the other students know how important attendance is. So what we did was I arranged for a limousine to come to the school, and the rest of the students went outside. These 7 students had no idea. I had parents come in to sign the permission slip for this little activity, and they didn't tell their student. So the limousine came to the school, picked up the students walked out, they were like, and they had lunch with me at Benny's. So the students really loved that. It was a great time. And we also celebrated 3 teachers because it's important for staff to be at work also. So we had 3 teachers this year that had perfect attendance. Both of my first grade teachers as well as my second grade teacher. So we also celebrated them in the assembly. Our projected rate is now 8%. So I am super excited for that, to go from 27% to 8%. And we will continue next year implementing some attendance incentives. I would like to just publicly thank the Manita staff because not only do they provide our students academically, but also socially and emotionally. And I could not ask for a better staff. I am so grateful for them.
All right. Questions? Comments?
Yeah, just, I mean, you crushed your goals.
That's great. I'm sure you have high expectations again for next year. But with that chronic absenteeism, I mean, that is the key right there, because I think that is, and same thing with teachers really driving for perfect attendance too. So you have parents pushing in the right direction, you have kids who want to be there, you got teachers who want to be there, and everyone's pulling in the same direction. That's why you're able to see the results that you're seeing. So, I mean, just tremendous applause goes to everybody involved at the school. So just keep that up. That is fantastic. Thank you so much.
I would echo that. If the kids aren't in school, they're not learning good, and so when they're there, their scores go up. So excellent, congratulations.
So my first question is, did that rainbow show up on the first thing, or did you paint that in?
My IT guy.
I was wondering.
I said, I want you to make it look pretty.
So anyway, I really liked the food for kids that you're working on. The spirit days are awesome. It's harder to implement them in the middle school and high school, especially if we don't have them in the elementary school, so that's good. The family involvement, that's one of the keys in making your school successful, and having, you said Veterans Day, Grandparents Day, Spring Family Luncheon, figuring out different activities to get parents to the schools and start talking about PTA and getting involved. Okay, your PTA is working really well as well, so that's so important. And all the other churches that are also collaborating. Love the high school collaboration as well. That's awesome. Career Day, and I'm basically on that attendance. I think you're going to need a bigger limo next year, because man, that would be a big incentive for kids to do that. That's awesome. Great idea.
Questions, comments? So, Ms. Lee, the only question I had is around math. And, I know you set it at 75%, hit it at 82%. Why'd you go down as far as the goal from year, it was higher the year before. What made you take a 75%? And I'm just looking for data,
And part of my leadership team consists of one of my fifth grade teachers as well. And the fourth grade students from last year, their performance was not as high. And we did take a dip. Fifth graders is what really caused the dip. Third and fourth grade were extremely high. So we did get a tutor in to provide remediation. And she came in starting in October, 3 days a week, and she pulled students small groups.
okay, thank you. All right, any other questions, comments? Appreciate you guys coming in and presenting.
Thank you.
All right, 2.02, cybersecurity update. Yes.
So I'll take a minute and just introduce Mr. Sexton and Dr. Trosper. So Mr. Sexton is going to be giving us an update on some of the work of the IT department that they've done this year, to give you an idea of the immense support we have from our technology department. And he's also going to discuss some security measures that Bedford County Public Schools uses to protect our employees and our students and their information. And then Dr. Trosper is going to tie into that, and he's going to share an update on the first year of our cybersecurity program that started this year at Susie G. Gibson Science and Technology Center. And Mr. Sexton and his team were also vital in helping develop that program and supporting that teacher. So I'm going to turn it over to start with Mr. Sexton.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Barry Sexton, and I am the supervisor of the Information Technology Department. Like Dr. Woodford said, I just want to take some time to go over some highlights of the IT department and some of the cybersecurity initiatives that we're currently working on, and some things that are already in place. Because the IT department doesn't want to be left out of too much, we actually do have our own mission statement as well. And that is empowering students, teachers, and staff with technology solutions that foster a seamless and transformative learning experience while ensuring the reliability, security, and accessibility of our information technology infrastructure. So pretty straightforward there. I would like to start this next slide off by saying that I have a great group of staff in the IT department that work very hard to support all of our IT equipment, and each year we're adding on more and more things that fall under the IT department. So this just gives you kind of an idea of the number of devices that we support within this department, and these are kind of rough numbers, but as you see, Chromebooks, we have more of those than anything else that we support, and that does take a lot of time. I will also say that with systems like our intercom systems, our alarm systems, that as they're being replaced, they are more network centric now than ever. So alarm systems and intercoms have actually become part of the IT department. They were in maintenance, and because they are on the network and we have to support that part of it, we just kind of took that under our umbrella as well. As far as the projectors, we still support, projectors, LCD projectors in classrooms. We are working toward replacing some of those with TVs or interactive panels. That's a slow process, but that is a goal that we are moving toward. Some ticket numbers, just to kind of show you the number of tickets we closed out. So that's 6,071 tickets from August until the last day of school. And basically that's the overall. On the next slide, I kind of broke that down for you to give you an idea of how many tickets per device or per system we typically get per year. I will say the other column, that is in our ticketing system, and that typically reflects things that are like setting bell schedules, because in most systems we support the bell schedules. Sometimes principals will call us and they want to change something for like a club day, so they will put a ticket in for that. This also includes scanners, time clock system, which we also support, password reset, streaming devices, and audio video equipment that doesn't necessarily have its own category within our ticketing system. So that's where the other comes from, those 996 tickets. As we move forward, this has been years ago when I first started, cybersecurity really wasn't that big of a thing in IT. I mean, it was, there were viruses out there, there were some issues, but cybersecurity has really hit K-12 very, very hard. K-12 education has been a target now for years, basically with bad actors trying to infect targeted systems and user accounts maliciously to collect data. School systems are an easy target because most don't have the appropriate cybersecurity staff. They don't have funding to protect the assets. So I'm going to provide some disturbing statistics regarding cybersecurity in K-12. Since 2019, cybersecurity incidents involving malware deployments have increased by 358% in K-12 education. The educational records, if obtained, can go for $265 or more on the black market, which is essentially the dark web. 87% of educational establishments have had some sort of a breach or cyber attack. 59% of K-12 districts do not have a cybersecurity plan in place, and 77% do not have a full-time employee dedicated to cybersecurity. Global cybersecurity attacks continue to rise in 2024, with the average number of attacks per organization reaching a little over 1,300. So some initiatives that we have in place I would like to share with you. Unfortunately, some I'm not able to share due to the sensitive nature of cybersecurity in
Thank
general.
you, we appreciate that.
So I'm not able to disclose those details, but I will provide like a high-level overview just so you can get an idea of what it is that we're working on. We currently have a platform in place because you may or may not be aware, but our end users, our teachers, staff are actually our weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity, because they are the ones out there on our network, and they are the ones being targeted with emails that have links, attachments, fraudulent, invoices. I mean, it can be various different things. So we have a platform in place that we are able to send out or kind of mimic those phishing emails. And it gives us a really good idea of where our staff is with their cybersecurity knowledge and what we need to work on. So it allows us to really gear training for those vulnerable areas. And I will say that has helped greatly. It has been a huge asset for getting the cybersecurity training out there for our staff, and it kind of lets us know, okay, this is a weak area. We have people continuously clicking on emails that have this kind of attachment, so we need to make sure that we teach them what the red flags are to look for, because a lot of times there are red flags in these emails. We have developed a cybersecurity incident response plan, and that's ongoing with updates and review. Basically, that is where a document that instructs key staff on how to respond to a serious security incident, such as a data breach or ransomware attack, or a loss of information. Having the cybersecurity IRP in place, it's actually recommended by the Department of Education and our insurance company. It's not required, but it is recommended, so we have moved forward with that. Another huge project was moving forward with the implementation of a managed detection and response MDR service. And basically, this is a service that monitors our internet traffic on our network and provides 24/7 security of our servers as well. So the way that works is if they detect any sort of malicious activity or anything that could even be considered that, they will respond to, like, I'm first on the call list, and it would go to David and Charles Calloway as well. But they are on top of it. So if there's any kind of data moving out off of their servers at a time frame that they don't think is like it would be abnormal, they will call. They have the ability to shut that traffic down as well. But it also goes on to the fact that even when we sign onto our servers, even IT staff that are allowed to do that, they document it. So I receive an email every time someone signs on. That way, if you spell, okay, that person's absent today, they shouldn't be signing on, then that means their credentials could be compromised. So that is a great service to have, and they are constantly on top of monitoring, making sure our patches and everything are up to date. And we do, a lot of systems can be compromised easily by not having those Windows updates or firmware updates. We have switches and things that have to be updated. So we stay on top of that. Most of our systems, like our client computers and our servers, they're set on auto updates. But we still go through and review because sometimes they may not get updates correctly. So that is a big one, but we do stay on top of that to keep our systems safe and secure. We recently have implemented two-factor verification on teacher and staff email accounts because, again, that is the number one way that they will get in is through email. And a lot of the times during our phishing campaigns, we have had staff that it looked like a real Google login, so they frequently type in their Google username and password, and that's exactly how credentials are stolen. So by implementing the two-factor, they can use a phone, they can use a security key. There's various different ways that you can authenticate for that second step. And so we have implemented that with our teachers and staff, and we're moving forward, and your group is actually next for the two-step on those Google accounts. In addition to that, we utilize tools and resources from the cybersecurity and infrastructure security agent. There's a lot of free cybersecurity hygiene services and tools that they provide. One is monitoring like our external domain. So if like the Bedford County domain gets compromised, they will send alerts, and that service is completely free, and it's very valuable. So one of the questions that I get quite often is, and this can come from people that maybe even want to purchase a Chromebook personally for personal use, and I get the question, are they safe? And to kind of go over this. Chromebooks, they use an operating system that you guys are using. It's called Chrome OS, and it is considered one of the safest operating systems on the market. Because traditional malware, ransomware, viruses, they don't run on the Chrome OS like they do on Windows and even Macs. Now, Macs used to be kind of immune to that. Macs are now targeted just as much as Windows devices. But Chromebooks at this time are still one of the safest operating systems out there. The only time that a Chromebook may becomes compromised would be if there's a malicious extension installed that is infected. And to minimize that risk exposure here, we don't allow students to install any unapproved apps or extensions on their Chromebooks. If a teacher or someone in the school would like an extension pushed down to student Chromebooks, we in the IT department, we vet that, we do research on it, we read reviews before we approve that and push that to those Chromebooks. But as a student, as a whole, they can't install anything that hasn't been pre-approved by our department. We utilize software as well that, of course, has the URL filter built in, so often the students go off-site, on-site, anywhere where there's wireless access. The Chromebooks are basically protected with our web filter. And, no filter solution ever has been 100% effective. None of them, I feel like, ever will be, because they, sites are being created every single day, proxy sites, gaming sites, inappropriate sites. So it's very difficult for these filter companies to stay on top of it constantly. But we do have that in place, and we routinely audit browsing data to determine if there are any inappropriate websites or malicious websites that are getting through, and then we can manually block those. And sometimes, it's even teachers will say, hey, this site that this student was on looked, it didn't look appropriate. Can you look into it? And we will. And most of the time, it's because it was categorized incorrectly. It may be categorized as it could be gaming and categorized as education. That happens quite often too. So we try to stay on that. We also have tools such as classroom management software that it allows teachers to lock Chromebooks. Teachers can monitor what the students are doing in class. If the students are not engaged or not on task, the teacher can disable websites. And so it basically gives the teacher the management in the classroom to control what the students are doing, instead of just handing them a device with, free reign to do what they want. So the teachers can kind of reel them in on that. I will say that, and this was really prior to this slide, or it was after this slide was created, I just found out this week that we have been approved for a cybersecurity grant through the state that is supposed to help us address security risk and threats to information systems that are operated by state and local government. So I do know this grant requires no local matching funds, so no additional cost to us. But at this time, I don't have a lot of detail. I do have a meeting on June 27th to find out more, but I'm hopeful because they sent it and said you are approved. So anything's better than nothing with this, and it could definitely help us, purchase more software or hardware as needed. But as you can see, cybersecurity is a priority for us, as it is many organizations and businesses. Cybersecurity IT professionals are in high demand due to the growing need, and that is one of the reasons that the cybersecurity program at Susie G. Gibson Technology Center was developed. So I'll now pass it over to Dr. Trosper, who will go over the instructional side of cybersecurity and how our students can benefit from this excellent opportunity.
Thank you. So as you know, for the first time this year, students in Bedford County have the opportunity to take courses in cybersecurity. Prior to implementing this program, we put a number of steps in place to make sure it was from the beginning. So one of the things that we did was we actually went with some members of the instruction team, Mr. Doss, the principal at Susie Gibson, and we went and visited some schools, and we tried to really prepare for that. So the first step was obviously adding it to our program of studies. So by a board vote in December of 2022, our cybersecurity sequence was added to our program of studies. And so over time, if students start as a freshman, they can start by taking cybersecurity fundamentals, and then they can take cybersecurity systems technology, cybersecurity systems technology advanced, and then cybersecurity network systems. As I said, one of the steps that we took was we actually visited Lord Botetourt Science and Technology Center in February of 2022 to observe cybersecurity instruction. They're known for having a vibrant program. They do a lot of good work with their students and with their community. And so we interviewed the teachers, the students. We talked about curriculum choices that we wanted to make, and ultimately got some very good guidance from that instructor. And so we feel really good about where we are based on just that foundation, the beginning. The other thing we had to do was go through course approval through the Department of Education. And we also had to interview and hire a candidate. So this took place in summer of 2022. One of the things I did want to point out about the application is when we complete an application for a CTE course, they look at two criteria. The first is the local job market. Is there demand in the local job market for this field? And then also they ask about student interest. And in both cases, it was high. And so we felt like this was going to be a really good opportunity for our students. And then we set aside some Perkins startup funds. And so we're able to use this to send the teachers some conferences, to purchase equipment, software, and even some curriculum. And Mr. John, I'm trying to keep an eye on the time. Do my best to get through by 6 o'clock, so just stop me if you need to. But the next part we did was, as we started the program, we wanted to make sure that we were successful in supporting our teacher and our students. One of our goals is to better prepare students for post-secondary opportunities. And so I just want to talk a little bit about the steps we took to support this teacher. All new hires in Bedford County go through a new hire process. And so this teacher went through that as well. They cover topics such as professionalism, classroom management, assessment techniques, and many other topics. So this teacher has gone through that. Additionally, they were assigned a mentor from Susie Gibson. And so this teacher is a veteran teacher who meets at minimum on a monthly basis. Knowing that mentor, this was probably more like daily. This teacher was very well supported by a well-respected staff at Susie Gibson. The teacher formed an advisory committee that regularly meets with community partners to get guidance on what the community needs, what our business is looking for. We hope that this becomes a valuable community partnership moving forward. We connected the teacher with the CVCC instructor for cybersecurity. This instructor looked at the curriculum. This person provided feedback on teaching materials and strategies. And our goal would be to really align our practices with some of those in higher ed. So again, students are better prepared should they choose to go further in higher education. And then finally, we just had regular check-ins. So this teacher received frequent visits from the supervisor of CTE and workplace readiness, supervisor of IT operations, Mr. Sexton, the supervisor of professional learning, supervisor of employment relations, and then myself. Again, it was very important that this teacher felt supported and had access should they have questions, concerns. If you're like me, when I listen to Mr. Sexton's presentation, it feels a little bit complicated. And so I had to do my homework on cybersecurity, just to learn what it was. And so just to kind of make sure you understand what our goals are and what we're trying to accomplish, the America's Cyber Defense Agency says that cybersecurity is the art of protecting networks, devices, and data from unauthorized access to criminal use, and the practice of ensuring confidentiality, integrity, and availability of information. And so what I've learned is this includes many, many facets. It includes communication. It could be emails, smartphones, tablets. It could be entertainment, like video games, social media, different apps that we have on our phones and other devices. It could be transportation, like navigation systems. It could be shopping, like online shopping, using our credit cards. And it could even be medicine, like medical records. And there's many, many more areas that cybersecurity impacts. So the demand is there, the more we depend on technology in society. And so this year, students took a fundamental foundational course. The course description is on the screen. I won't read it, but it is there for your reference. It's also in the program studies. The other thing I think is important to note is that students have the opportunity to join a career and technical student organization, or CTSO. So what they do specifically in this class, they actually join the Future Business Leaders of America. And this organization meets with teacher advisors with the goal of preparing students for a career in business through relevant career preparation and leadership experiences. So we hope it gets some practical experience for them as they prepare again for whether they go into the field or to higher education. The curriculum we use is from the Virginia CTE Resource Center. This is the same source that all of our competencies for CTE are located in. What they do is they organize our courses through a career cluster framework. They provide guides for developing programs of study that bridge secondary and post-secondary systems. This resource center actually outlines competencies that students are expected to demonstrate proficiency in. And so the course specifically is designed to help students achieve proficiency and help them get credentials by the end of the course. So I've listed some examples of these competencies on the screen. Won't go through all of them, but just for example, students are expected by the end of this course to describe cybersecurity, to describe critical factors of information assurance, and define vulnerability and risk. And there's many, many other competencies that they would be expected to learn before the course is over. And I do just want to say a quick note about the curriculum. The first half is usually more of an IT related. It really lays the foundation before they get into cybersecurity second semester. I know we've heard some comments about that, and I just wanted to explain that. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is there are credential opportunities, and Mr. Haas and I have kind of talked about credentials and competencies and how that helps our students. But a credential is an industry certification. It's a state licensure exam. It could be a national competency. Anything like that where students demonstrate competencies in a CT field of study, these become very marketable to employers and to colleges as students leave our classes. In this course alone, there's actually 25 different options for credential attainment. And so this year, our students prepared for the Security Pro credential. This was based on advice from our advisory committee and just from other businesses that said this is what we are looking for in future employees. So students will get more opportunities as they take more courses in cybersecurity. And then I want to make one more point about this. The topic of ethics is obviously very important when you talk about a field like this. There's always a need to consider the application of skills learned, but also through an ethical framework. And so that is part of this curriculum as well. So at the beginning of the school year, students and parents sign an ethics agreement. They emphasize the importance of ethical practices. Parents sign that. They have many discussions about it. And then there's also specific competencies that are taught as ethics and as it relates to cybersecurity. So again, I have an image of some examples of ethics competencies. So differentiate between ethics and laws, distinguish amongst types of ethical concerns, and it even gets into cyberbullying, which is a big issue that we deal with on a daily basis. And so those are just some of the experiences that our students have at Susie Gibson. And just one final note I want to make is that we are planning to have our second year of cybersecurity next year. Every student that took the fundamentals course this year has now signed up for year two. So every student, which is rare and very exciting. And then we also think we have a full load for cybersecurity fundamentals next year. So I think we've had a good start. We've got a good future. And we're looking forward to preparing those kids for post-secondary readiness. I know we're up against the clock, but if we have any questions, be happy to answer.
Don't want to rush it. So questions, comments?
I had a question regarding the Chromebooks. As a teacher, I don't know how many times I caught kids playing video games on the Chromebooks. And we had Go Guardian when I was a teacher. Is that what you have here?
We actually use a program where last year we used a program called NetRef, and the company that owns NetRef is moving everyone to a newer, more robust product called ClassWise, and that is what we will be using next year. But it is very similar. It has the same sort of features that Go Guardian has.
So one of the things as a teacher, it would be wonderful if you had a program where it's like, okay, you can only be on this website, and as soon as a page gets changed, I would be alerted instead of having to have it on my, looking at it and seeing if they're on a different page. Is that something that they would have?
The way that the classroom management software works, a teacher can say, I only want you on this website and no other websites, and they can lock it down, and the student can't go anywhere else.
Yeah, because I only had the ability to either lock it all down or,
Right.
or let them.
No, you can lock them to specific
So,
websites.
okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. And the other question is, I know there's a lot of IT repairs or missing Chromebooks and stepped on Chromebooks or lost Chromebooks. How much of our budget goes towards those Chromebooks going home? Because I'm thinking,
It was half of all the ticket items.
yeah, that's a lot of expense, and I'm wondering if there would be a way, and, you know, Dr. Woodford, you could probably answer this question as well, and Dr. Trosper, if we could have it so that there's only a classroom, Chromebooks that they use only in the classroom, and if they are taking them home, they have to check them out for specific projects, because a lot of these kids are going home and they're not doing anything on their Chromebooks about school. They're just doing all kinds of other stuff instead of doing, and they're telling their parents, I'm doing my schoolwork, Mom. I'm on my Chromebook. And they're playing a video game or getting into other stuff. So if we changed that and made it so that it was mostly in the classroom, only checked out for specific projects, how many thousands of dollars in time would that save us?
Well, I will say, the way that we operate with our Chromebooks is that when they are purchased, we purchase an accidental damage protection with the device. So we found that over time, that is a substantial cost savings over purchasing the parts and fixing them. We do fix them in-house, but the vendor of the Chromebooks, they send us the parts, so the technician will get it in, and okay, the screen is cracked. The student, it may have been an accident, it may have fallen off the desk or whatever. We repair it, but at that time, there's no cost. It was built into the price of the Chromebook. Now, there are times if the technician evaluates the Chromebook and it seems that it's malicious, that is when we do invoice the parents and we seek, payment that way. I will say that overall, the out-of-pocket expense is not all that great for our Chromebook repair, and I think that is contributed to the fact that we purchased that accidental damage protection on the device when we buy them. So that has helped a lot. Now, as far as the classroom sets, I know that a lot of the curriculum and textbooks and things like that are all digital. So by having classroom sets, I don't know, I can't really speak to that part of it. But I will say, as far as parents not really knowing what's going on, I hope that, now don't hold me to this, but the software, this new software that we're going to be going to the classroom management, there is a parent piece to that is going to be released.
Awesome. Okay.
My hope is that will kind of put, when the device is at home, it will kind of give the parents the ability to lock down what their child is doing on the Chromebooks as well. So it will add an extra layer, and then of course, those rights go away as soon as the school day starts, and it becomes then the teacher responsibility to lock those devices down in class. But I'm very excited about that feature that is going to be released hopefully very soon, so we can start rolling that out.
I was on Go Guardian with my kids in my classroom, and I had some who were homesick.
Yep.
And I could see what they were doing at home, and I'm going,
Yep.
That is not school.
Exactly.
And so I was very concerned that these kids are going home and doing stuff on those Chromebooks that are really dangerous.
And if that software is utilized, it is very powerful. I mean, as a teacher, you can really gain control over your classroom if you just set it up correctly and make sure you actually use it. I mean, I feel like you can keep students more engaged with that.
That would be helpful, thank you.
So, Barry, Sean, I'm gonna ask you guys to stay. I'm gonna pause so we can do student recognition. I certainly have a few questions. I don't know if other board members do, but if you guys would just hang out for a few
Okay.
minutes so we can do student and staff recognition. So, that's all right.
All right, Mr. Chairman, Vice Chair, and Dr. Woodford, will you please come forward to greet our students and staff? All right, tonight we are thrilled to recognize some of our fantastic middle school science students for their recent wins in the Middle School Science Fair. So please join me in welcoming the following students to stage. First we have, I don't think Abby came, so First, we have Palmer Satterfield from Stand River Middle School, and he received first place in the physics category. And Palmer, if you'll kind of stay up there, I'm going to get the other ones from Stanton River to take a picture with you. And then we also have Katie Johnson and Matthew Keene, also from Stanton River Middle School, for achieving the Lynchburg Dental Award. These accomplishments reflect their hard work and passion for science and education. Congratulations to all of you on this well-deserved honor. And now I'm going to come take a picture. Parents, if you want to come, you can. Can I get you guys to stand in front of them? That's all right. I'll always just crunch you guys.
It's all good.
All right. All right. 3, 2, 1. Thank you guys so much. Okay, you guys can stand if you want, but we just have one last thing. On behalf of Bedford County School Board and Bedford County Public Schools, we want to share our heartfelt gratitude for Dr. Bergen. He couldn't be here tonight, but we just wanted to share our best wishes as he starts his new journey. Over the past 3 years, Dr. Bergen has demonstrated exemplary leadership, dedication, and a profound commitment to the success and well-being of our students, staff, and community. His vision and efforts have led to improvements and positive changes in our school. We are immensely grateful for his contributions and confidence that his legacy will continue to inspire. So thank you, Dr. Bergen, for your service and commitment, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors.
All right, so we will go back to the cybersecurity update and questions that anyone has. Oh, I'm sorry, I do need to do public comment. My apologies. Keep me straight. All right. We'll go to public comment first. Public comment portion of tonight's agenda is limited to 40 minutes. Speakers are asked to state their name and voting district. The school board is here to listen to your comments, but will not engage or respond to speakers during this 40-minute period. Please remember that this is a public meeting and that we expect all speakers to refrain from any foul, profane, abusive, or hateful language during their comments or any time while in attendance during this meeting. We also ask that speakers keep their remarks objective and about the school in nature. Please keep all comments limited to matters related to the public schools, and any comments that are harassing or amount to a personal attack against any identifiable individual, whether board member or staff or student, or having the potential to cause unnecessary delay or disruption to this meeting are prohibited. This is a public meeting for public matters. If a speaker is not present when their name is called, we will proceed with the next name on the list. An individual who has not signed up to speak may not substitute for that time slot. Individuals will have 4 minutes to address the board. An alarm will sound when an individual has 30 seconds remaining, and a second alarm will sound when the allotted 4 minutes have expired. When this second alarm sounds, please discontinue speaking and allow the next person in line to come to the podium. Should you be able to finish your comments, please send or give them to Ms. Johnson, and she will give them to board members. Please do not adjust the microphone at the podium as it has been positioned for optimum audio quality. We do not have anyone signed up to speak tonight for public comment. So if there's anyone here tonight that would like to speak, anyone? That being said, I will close public comment. All right, I did it. All right, so now we will go back to cybersecurity update and questions and concerns from the board or comments from the board.
I just want to say thank you for taking care of 15,977 pieces of equipment.
And I again, I have to thank the staff that I have. I mean, it's a great group of people and that are very dedicated, so I have to thank them as well. It's a lot of work.
Thank you guys for a great presentation. Very excited that we have a cybersecurity program. I know that was a big thing, and we got that across the finish line. Really excited that's in, it's rolling, it's going well. I had one question about filtering. Do we evaluate to make sure, like, if a teacher sends out like a research assignment, that the students may be going and looking around for information and they're trying to go to legitimate sites and those legitimate sites are blocked? Do we have anything to evaluate that?
A lot of the times we have to depend on the teacher to let us know, like, you know, my students are doing research and what we call that, those are called false positives. And unfortunately, that happens a lot. And it can be tied to keywords or you know, whatever it may be. And we do have a method that we process basically, that we evaluate that and we'll whitelist those sites.
And we're relying on the teacher to do that. So the student needs to understand as well, hey, if there's a problem, you're trying to find something on the site, you gotta let the teacher know.
They have to
don't
let the teacher know, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because, you know, again, they could be researching, and we've had this happen a lot, where the keyword can be used in other ways.
Yeah.
So we kind of evaluate that. If there's specific websites that we know that they would benefit from, we will add those to the allow list. But I'm hoping as we move forward with new software, that will kind of put more of that in the teacher's hands to be able to allow that for the student.
Yeah, it frees you guys up to do other things too.
Yeah, because, you know, again, it's kind of difficult if students are doing research on a topic and, you know, they have to email us or contact us, and so call the help desk. You know, that's still a process that has to be taken, and so that's lost class time that we would want to put that back in the teacher's hands.
Awesome, thank you.
To that end, I think we had where they wanted on YouTube, the teacher could just approve.
And we do have that for
Okay.
YouTube, yes.
I wanted to piggyback on Ms. Purvis's question about the Chromebooks, and because that's a lot of the work that you do, and even though the materials sound like they may be covered and reimbursed by the insurance policy, that work you said is being done in-house.
It is.
How many man-hours would it take to fill those 2,000 tickets?
It really depends. I will say a lot of our work is screen replacement, keyboards, things like that. Depending on the technician, some of them really have it down to a science and they can get it done very quickly. But again, you know, you take the Chromebook repair, so we have those come in, but they also are supporting teachers. There's printer issues, the typical issues with Windows that we deal with staff devices. So they kind of do it all out in the schools. Now we do have like tiered support, so we have like a level 2, which is the lead techs for each zone. They will pitch in and help if there's a large workload at a school. They kind of take care of they deliver parts that aren't part of the Lenovo accidental damage plan, where they're shipped directly to the school. So if they have to come in, they'll come to our warehouse, pick up the parts and deliver those. But as far as man hours, I mean, it depends on the school too. Some schools have a lot more damage than others, and it's simply because they have more students. So I've tried to organize the technicians in a way that, like for our high schools, specifically Stanton River and like JF, there's someone there full-time Monday through Friday. Liberty High School is like 4 days. So that also helps. So they don't have to travel to other schools. They can just kind of be there, take care of the Chromebook issues as they happen. And we do have a fleet of loaners, so if a student comes in and theirs is broken, they're not without. We assign them a loaner to use while theirs is being repaired. But the turnaround, because we can do that work in-house, the turnaround is much faster than it would be if we boxed it up and shipped it back to the depot and then waited for it to come back.
And then I had a question about the classroom management software. Wondering how often that's used, right? Just because it's there doesn't mean it's being used, and I'm sure you have a way of monitoring how many teachers use it, how many don't.
That's a good question, and I just, one call that I had with the company today, the old product, we really couldn't tell. There was not a lot of data on usage as far as the teacher, because the way that it worked, all the Chromebooks connected to the platform and they were in there. That's the amount of usage that it would report on, like how many student devices were connected that day. It wasn't really how the teachers are using it or if they're using it. But the new product, they said, does actually include that information. And the company, we will be dedicated, like we'll have a dedicated support person. They're gonna be monitoring that as well and like, okay, you have this group of teachers that aren't utilizing it at all. And, you know, do they need additional training? And they'll be willing to step in and help out with that if that's the case, if it's just a training issue. So hopefully we will be able to look at that data a lot more in the future.
And then one step further, the same information with the parent controls.
Yes. Now, they didn't mention how that's going to be, you know, if there's logs or anything that's kept on that, but I'm sure there probably will be. But I'm very excited for that piece. Very excited. I can't, because I know that's something we've needed for quite a while to kind of put that in the hands of the parents when the devices are at home.
Now we just gotta get them to use it.
Yes, yes. And there will be training and everything to go along with that as well. I mean, I know that the company, there's a lot of training modules and stuff online. But there's more to come on that, a lot to learn on our part too.
Great, thank you.
All right, so 6,071 tickets. How many staff?
We have 17, including myself.
17. And the training, the cybersecurity training that we talked about, being part of staff, is that a required training?
We have levels.
There's levels. So so initially the staff will do a training, just a refresher, and then if we send out these campaigns and someone fails, they are assigned training at that point. And depending on if we have someone like repeat offenders that continuously
Click on stuff?
download attachments, they actually have to come here in person, and Dr. Weiss and myself, we do the training in person with them. So we can kind of, you know, go over things in person and show them exactly, we pull up the exact emails too, and we go through it with them. We've done that one time so far, and I think it went really well.
And so of the required training, we're keeping up with that. I mean, so principals are responsible for monitoring that?
Track it all.
Okay, all right, good. And then Barry, do you guys handle 3D printers?
We do, as far as installation, updating drivers, installing it on the server, we do that part, yes.
Okay. And then as far as the approved websites, both what we as a system have approved and then the sites that each individual user / teacher or administrator has approved. Do you have a list of those websites?
We do. A lot of the websites that are approved also come from the filter company because they are categorized in certain categories that we have on the allow list. So like education and, you know, certain things are automatically approved, and that's where we get into these false positives sometimes because these websites can be miscategorized. But typically what we do, if a website is blocked, we have a vetting process. Sometimes it starts with our instructional technology coaches that are in the schools. They will vet it and, you know, they're like, okay, you know, it looks fine. They will then send it to us and we will add it to the allow list. Other times, like if it's a staff member, they can submit a site request right from the block screen, and we get those emails and then we vet it at that point to make sure that it's safe. And a lot of the times it's miscategorized. There are times that someone will want something open that we can't open because it either violates our acceptable use policy or it's malicious. It's flagged as malicious, so we will not open those. But we do, to answer your question, we do have a list, a very long list that's on what we call the allow list. We do have that.
Okay.
And only Barry's team can unflag a site. The principals don't have that capability. Teachers can unflag YouTube, but Barry's team is the only one who can unflag a full website for everybody.
Okay, all right. All right, so Sean, as far as the cybersecurity program, how many students did we have in 23-24?
have to go back and look. I don't have that right in front of me, I'm sorry.
Okay. And then I know you said you thought we were gonna have a full house and then 100% of those were coming back for 24, 25. Yeah, so I'm interested in those numbers just to see where we've got growth, you know, from year over year. That's all I got. I appreciate it, guys. All right, Dr. Woodford and Dr. Trosper, preliminary SOL scores.
Good evening, members of the board. Tonight, Dr. Trosper and I are going to present preliminary data from recent SOL tests. I do want to caution us, these are only preliminary. We don't have all of the information in, and usually final scores are not available and certified until sometime in late August, early September. We will likely have changes based on some alternative tests that have been sent in that haven't been scored yet. But we do believe this gives us a good picture of where we think we'll end. Please note that in this evening's report, we're only going to give overall student data performance. With spring testing and alternative tests and retakes still going on, our team did not want to dive too far in to give any false data. And also, our team will give a much more detailed report presentation in the future that will include subgroup data. And in addition, the final chronic absenteeism data, our CTE completer data, and our graduation data. All of that information comes from reports that we submit to the DOE in late June. So we should start seeing that information hopefully early July. So we are doing some preliminary calculations of accreditation and sharing information that chronic absenteeism or graduation rates not coming out the way we expect or CTE completer could cause some issues with accreditation that we'll have to give final share with you later. But before we share the data, I do want to recognize the hard work of all of our students and our teachers and our principals and our central office support team, Dr. Trosper's team, Mrs. Robertson's team, Mrs. Jennings' team in special education, Dr. Calvert's team in working on professional learning. It really takes a large group of people to work that tirelessly to support and make sure we are giving the support and encouragement where we need to. And they have done that. All of these people work tirelessly to reach the high expectations that we are setting for them in Bedford County. I do want to recognize Liberty Middle School. They made significant gains this year and have tentatively moved from being accredited with conditions to fully accredited. When you look at the Liberty Middle School scores, they made great gains with growth, but they actually made the cut in raw scores, which is amazing. They had such a long way to go. So while we had lots of schools make gains and some very significant gains, I just want to give a shout out to that team. They've been in school improvement for a while, and that's a tough place to be, but they have some excellent scores. So thank you. So this first chart sorry, Sean, I'm jumping ahead of you. So we're going to look first at some raw data. This first chart that I'm sharing with you displays the overall pass rates for Bedford County Public Schools over the last dozen years. And their relative rankings compared to other divisions in Virginia. So the current ranking places Bedford County Public Schools in the top third of the state. And what we are looking at is where do we compare overall to other school divisions? Looking at 2012, we were 105. That's in the bottom third of Virginia. So I'm really proud of our team over the last 12 years. Has really moved us up. So we're in the top third. And our work is to continue to get there, to continue to move forward. As you can see, our students have averaged the highest rates of achievement relative to other divisions in the Commonwealth for at least the past 8 years. In fact, since the instruction team was reconfigured in 2021, and that was allowed and supported by this school board, Our students are in the best 3-year stretch for as far back as we can locate state rankings. While the following slides will show areas where improvement is still needed, there's still a lot to celebrate this year. Our students improved in many areas and in some cases showed drastic improvements. Overall, the trend in Bedford County is that we are moving in the right direction. Our standing compared to other divisions in the state is strong, and we are continuing to improve, and our goal is to be in the top 10 soon. We are working hard, our teachers are working hard, and I'm sure that Dr. Trosper is going to get us there. A little pressure there. So in the following slides, I'm going to show you raw pass rates for Bedford County Public Schools in each of our core subject areas. Just as a reminder, raw pass rates are the calculated pass and fail rates of the test with absolutely no adjustments. There's no adjustment for retest, there are no adjustments for student growth. So just as plain as I can say it, if we have 10 students take the test and 8 of them pass, we get a flat 80% pass rate. So we're looking at raw scores with no adjustment. While our accreditation is based on combined pass rates, which Dr. Trosper is going to share with you in just a few moments, our team bases all of our internal support on raw scores, since they give us the most accurate reflection of where students are at grade level expectations. So when we are planning interventions, trainings, we're looking at raw pass rates. This chart shows us the English pass rates, the percentage of students who pass the English test given to students in Bedford County. These scores, again, represent raw pass rates with no growth or recovery. You'll see those orange numbers in parentheses. Those are state pass rates for English. And Dr. Trosper added those because we were really talking about how when we look at comparisons to state averages, we usually are higher or right there with them. And so for us, it's good to see where the state is to see if we are falling below or coming in above that. We can't show you this year's average state rate because it won't come out until August or September. But by comparing that, you can see that we still find that Bedford really performs in most cases above the state average. Overall, we increased raw scores in 4 out of 8 grade levels, and we varied below last year's rate by only 1 to 4 points, which is not unusual, especially with so many small schools. That could be 1 student, 2 students. So grade 3 had a 69% pass, and as a reminder, we're trying to get to 75% in English. So we want to get to the 75% rate. So 3rd grade has 69, 4th grade 80, 5th grade 73, 6th grade 76, 7th 77, 8th grade 78. This year the grade 8 writing test was not given. They are doing some with an integrated reading writing test that they field tested it this year and they're going to roll it out next year, so they didn't get scores for a writing test. End of course reading for 11th grade was an 86% pass, and end of course writing for 11th grade was 79%. And just a note that for grade 11, writing and reading are actually combined to get 1 pass rate when we see accreditation. So we're really happy that we are seeing growth in reading. We are continuing to dig into our new reading series, not only at the elementary but the middle school level. We typically see that our high school end of course reading and writing scores are fairly high, but we would continue to focus in our middle schools, and we are very proud of the jump that we did see, especially with 8th grade reading there. So moving on to math, this chart is displayed in much the same way. These are the percentage of students who pass each math test given to students in Bedford County. Again, the numbers in orange are state averages. We had an increase in raw scores in 6 out of the 7 grade levels tested, and we stayed constant in grade 3, which is tremendous. And you see that we had some really nice gains in 8th grade math, a slight gain in 7th grade math, and a really strong gain in 6th grade math. Our middle school math was the area we were most concerned about last year with SOL scores. And while 7th grade math is not where we would want it to be, which for math is 70%, we are encouraged that we're moving in the right direction, and our math specialist is still digging into that data to see what's continuing to happen there. We need to bump a little bit quicker. This chart shows the percentage of students who pass the science SOL test. For science, there are no growth or recovery numbers, so the number that you see here will probably be the number that is on our accreditation report. While we saw an increase everywhere but grade 5 science, we still have work that must be done at individual schools and with specific grade levels to get the pass rate that we expect for our schools and that our schools expect for themselves. The percentage of students who passed the science test in grade 5 were 68, which was a drop of 2 points. Grade 8 science, 78%, an increase of 17 points. Earth science, 76, with an increase by 11 points. And biology at 68, which increased by 3 points. So again, science is part of our accreditation. And so we still have work to do in some individual grade levels, but overall we are pleased with the improvement we saw in 8th grade and earth science. Even with new standards, our Bedford County students improved pass rates in 5th grade and 8th grade. We are still working on the biology, because that is a test that students take to get verified credit in high school, and it's also part of the high school accreditation. So we still have some work to do. The next chart shows us social studies. Now, for social studies, this is not part of accreditation, but it is displayed on our accreditation report. High school history scores are not included in this chart because there's no testing requirement for high school in social studies once they meet their verified credit graduation requirement. Typically, that happens at 8th grade at the middle school. This year we did have the move in our program of studies to put 8th grade world geography at the middle school, and we had a very good first year pass rate, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. Our percentage of students who pass social studies, Virginia studies 79%, which was an increase. In civics we stayed steady at 74. World History 1 was 69. These World History 1 scores are students who have not passed it in the test in the past. So they're usually doing a retake in high school to try to get high school credit. Again, I said this was the first year that we actually taught world geography in 8th grade. Our history teachers felt like students really needed to understand the geography of the world before they could understand the history of the world. And so with that, right now it looks like at the middle school we had a 73% pass rate on our world geography test for the first year we've ever given it. So we were really proud of that. At this time, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Trosper, who is going to share combined pass rates by school and give you some more information on the next steps from his department.
Yes, so like Dr. Woodford said, I'm going to talk about the combined pass rates for all Bedford County students for each core subject area, broken down by zone and by school. And as a reminder, accreditation ratings are based on combined rates. So you'll see that overall scores are quite strong. They reflect the standard of continued growth and high achievement we've shown in the past few years, just as Dr. Woodford just shared. One thing I would ask that you keep in mind, this is actually a question that went to one of our principals. You might notice that some schools seem to have dropped from previous school years. This is typically the Liberty and Stanton River zone. This doesn't necessarily mean that they're regressing. This comes from the fact sometimes we say it's easier to get accredited than to stay accredited. So what happens is when you use growth and recovery scores, that's usually a big pool of students when scores are low to begin with. as raw scores improve, that pool of students to pull from shrinks. And so what you might actually be seeing is more of an accurate reflection of where we are with raw scores. So again, doesn't necessarily mean some are regressing. So just wanted to share that before we get started. So I'm going to start with elementary reading in the 4 zone. Elementary reading scores are displayed on the chart, and so the cells that are highlighted in green means that schools met the state benchmark for reading, which is 75%. So in the 4 zone, reading scores were just outstanding. All schools met the state benchmark comfortably. 4 of the 5 had over 90% combined pass rate, so very well done in the 4 zone. In the Liberty Zone, all of our schools met the state benchmark. And I do just want to say a special commendation to Big Island Elementary. They actually had a 90% combined pass rate, so that's not easy at a school that size, so I commend those teachers and everyone in the Liberty Zone. In the Stanton River Zone, all elementary school also met state targets. 3 of the 4 had pass rates over 80%. And to me, this is outstanding, given the challenges faced by the elementary schools in that zone, all of which are Title I. So again, congratulations to them. Now in math, we're going to look at elementary math scores in the 4 zone. The next 3 slides will show that broken down again by school, by zone, in math. The cells again highlighted in green means they met the state benchmark. In math, the target is 70%, and reading at 75, and math at 70. In the 4 zone, 4 of 5 schools had over a 90% combined pass rate, and then the one that didn't make 90 had an 89, so still very strong. In the Liberty Zone, all schools met state benchmark. As you can see, all 3 schools had over an 80% pass rate, and again, Big Island had 93% pass rate, so consistently high scores from all 3, especially Big Island. In the Stanton River Zone, all schools met the state benchmark. All 3 schools had over an 80% combined pass rate. And so we always, as we look at scores, know that there's room to improve. But I do want to say I'm very proud of our elementary math teachers, administrators, and students for these outstanding scores. These 2 charts display the percentage of students who pass each science and social studies SOL test that's given to students in Bedford County. Again, this is broken down by elementary school and by zone. As a reminder, growth and recovery are not accounted for in these subjects, so the pass rates that you see represent raw data. The state benchmark for science and social studies is 70%. So in science, all but 1 of our 4 zone elementary schools met the state benchmark. And in social studies, all schools also met the state benchmark comfortably. So we've got one we've got to look at, but the 4 zone was still strong. In science in the Liberty Zone, 2 schools met the state benchmark and 1 did not. In social studies, all schools met the state benchmark. And I do want to call your attention to Bedford Elementary School. They've continued to improve over the past 3 years. They've actually shown 21 points growth during that time. So congratulations to them. Going on to the Stanton River Zone in science, 2 elementary schools are just not showing progress like we expect, quite frankly. 1 that did not meet the benchmark, they have shown growth. And so we do recognize that, but it's not been enough. And so we've got to get those where they need to be. The other 2 did meet state benchmark. In social studies, 2 schools met the state goal and 2 did not. Notice for the schools that did not meet the benchmark, there was a significant drop from previous years. What I want to say to this board is we think we have a pretty good understanding of that. There's some specific reasons for that. We have already taken steps with our principals to improve those scores. We think we've already made some positive changes. So I just wanted to make that comment. The next chart shows pass rates for each secondary school in English language arts. So note that the high school pass rates include a combined reading and writing score, and only middle school scores are the ones that factor in the growth. So again, combined reading and writing in high school is what you see, but the combined rates, the growth rates are what you're going to see in middle school. So again, as Dr. Woodford said, last year we were very concerned about Liberty Middle and Stanton River Middle. They were trending in the wrong direction. They were not progressing like we wanted. And so I'm so pleased to share with you that they have actually reversed course. Both schools met state targets this year. That was a significant accomplishment for those schools, for the staff, and those administrators. So I want to make sure that I, as best as I can, make a big deal of that. That was a tremendous accomplishment. For the second straight year, our high schools also showed very strong progress. So I commend those English departments and those administrators from our high schools for their sustained success over the last few years. This chart shows combined pass rates for each middle school in math. Note that middle school scores include grades 6, 7, and 8 math, Algebra 1, and geometry. All students in middle school take a math SOL, so this does represent an accurate picture of where students are in math. High school final scores are based on raw data, and they include a combination of Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2 scores, but they are not all tested in high school. So I want to be clear about that. We don't know that our high school math scores represent accurately where our students are in math, but this is what's going to be reported for accreditation purposes. Just know that every student has to take a math class or math SOL their freshman year. So that could be any number of subjects. Once they pass, they don't test anymore after that. So just wanted to make that point. But in middle and high school, the state benchmark is still 70% for secondary schools. All of our schools were over 80% pass rate. Again, notice the improvement at Liberty Middle and Stanton River Middle. They didn't even meet state targets last year, and look where they are now. So again, congratulations to them. And with our high schools, even with that unique testing requirement, they still all met the state benchmark. So congratulations to our secondary schools on impressive achievement in English and math this year. This chart shows pass rates for each secondary school in science. Middle school scores come from Earth Science, the test which is taken by 8th grade students. High school scores include a combination of biology, earth science, and chemistry. Again, we don't think high school is really an accurate representation of where our students are because students only are required to take biology. Once they pass, they no longer have to take that test. The ones that took the earth science and chemistry are the ones that did not pass biology. So there's very low numbers. It's really not representative of the whole student population. But the state benchmark is 70. 3 schools met this benchmark compared to 2 last year. So there's some growth. 3 did not make it, so we have still a lot of work to do in secondary science. In social studies, this chart shows pass rates for each middle school. In social studies, note that middle school scores again include civics and economics and world geography. All students in grades 7 and 8 are tested. This was the first year we tested in world geography. Typically, the first time you test in a subject, scores are slightly low, but our students did pretty well overall, as Dr. Woodford shared. High school final scores include a combination of World History 2, Virginia U.S. History, but the number of kids that tested was so low, we just did not include them in the report. So as you can see, only Forest Middle met the state benchmarks for social studies. Other schools got close, but they didn't quite make it. So again, we've got some work to do there. So let me just kind of summarize our analysis of where our scores are. So first of all, again, all K-12 schools met the state benchmark in reading and math. In science, 12 schools met the state benchmark and 7 schools did not. So as you can see, overall, science has emerged as an area of focus for the upcoming school year. What I do want to say is we've initially analyzed these scores. We've got a lot more to look into. These scores are pretty consistent with other divisions around us and around the state. Science is just low right now in Virginia. And so some schools did not make the state target. One thing I do want to point out is that all of our secondary schools did at least show improvement from the previous year. And so we're at least trending in the right direction, but we obviously need to make greater strides as we go into future school years. In social studies, 12 schools met the state benchmark and 4 did not. Remember, I didn't include high school in this. But as a reminder, social studies scores do not impact our accreditation. But what is nice is that our world geography scores, when students pass the SOL, they get a verified credit in high school. So any pass we get, that gives students a leg up as they get into high school and helps them progress quicker towards graduation. As I've shared, middle school has been a real area of concern since we returned from the pandemic. And I remember this time last year being quite nervous to give this presentation because we were so concerned. This year, what we saw is Forest Middle improved on what was already strong scores. Liberty Middle and Stanton River Middle showed great improvement. So we celebrate their success. I'm very proud to share that with you. As you've seen from some scores, there's work to be done, but they've made huge strides. They're going in the right direction, so I congratulate them. And then the final thought I'll say as far as analyzing, as you know, 3 years ago, like Dr. Woodford said, we did reorganize the instruction department to really concentrate supervisory support in each content area. And that was done with support from many of you on this board today. And our team has really tried to be intentional in analyzing achievement data, building resource materials, streamlining curriculum materials, providing coaching support to classrooms. I really think that a lot of the outcomes we're seeing today is a result of the work that the instruction team, the SPED team, and all those that play into that as a result of those steps. So I just want to recognize and thank the board for their support in that. And so like any good coach or anything, there's always room to improve. And so we have celebrated, but my team, we're moving on to next year. So I want to briefly talk about next steps before we get to questions. But we're going to be thinking about how to better support our students during the upcoming school year. We expect our school leadership teams to conduct root cause analysis where they look at the data and why the data looks like it does. And we expect them to continue to use student achievement data to impact their practices and their instruction. So that is what we are doing, and we're going to support our schools this next year. The other thing that we know going into next year, there's a lot of new information coming from the Department of Education, specifically the Virginia Literacy Act. So that's going to go into effect in the fall of 2024. Fortunately, we've already implemented the new reading curriculums, Benchmark Advance and Savas. That's a very big first step towards achieving the goals of the literacy plan. There are other things that we're going to do, and those are outlined in that division literacy plan that you're going to be voting on later tonight. Also, English, math, and history standards will all be implemented for the first time next year. That's unprecedented. As long as I've been doing this, we don't typically have that many subjects with new standards for the first time. We're getting new information, literally new information weekly from the DOE, and we're getting new resources, and we are trying to learn those resources and think about how we can get that information to our teachers and how we can really support those schools, because what we do know is that when students are tested during the first year of new standards, typically those scores drop. So we're going to try to avoid that next year and be the exception to that. And so that's a big focus area for our team. And then the final few things I'll say is we're going to continue to collaborate between the special education instruction team. Even though we don't have final subgroup data yet, we did see some areas of improvement, but there's also some progress is needed. And so we've got a lot of work to continue to do to support all students in Bedford County. Science, as we noted, is a particular concern. We did change our sequencing 2 years ago with the program of studies. This is going to allow students more time to master grade 8 standards and hopefully better prepare them for high school. We think that sequencing is going to make a difference over the next few years and allow our teachers to have more time with hands-on learning as opposed to the rote memorization that our sequence previously kind of forced our students to do. And that will be fully implemented, as I said, next year. During the summer, we're going to look closely at those scores. We're going to talk to surrounding supervisors, science supervisors, to really understand what we need to do to improve instruction. Same with social studies. We've improved our sequencing to where this was the first that it had world geography. World geography is a lot of foundational skills that help with later high school courses. And so what we hope is those foundational skills start to see improvements. And so as I shared, as Dr. Woodford and I shared, there's a lot of work to be done, but we're very proud of where we are in many areas and the growth that's been shown. Any questions for us?
Questions?
Well, I do have a question. On the overall, the Bedford County versus the Virginia comparison, we were ranked, you said we were ranked 105 in 2012, and now we're ranked 47. But it was 77% pass rate in 2012 and 70%. So it looks like to me just the other people got worse. Because we had 1,332 more students in 2012 than we do now.
Over that time, there have been multiple changes in the curriculum and SOLs being taught. The rigor of those SOLs has increased over time. And so I think, years ago, you could kind of teach very rote memorization and do well. And as SOLs began to change, the difficulty went up. And I think that's what we're seeing. I think we weren't doing really well on the rote, but then we started really focusing on problem solving, higher level thinking, and I think we're seeing others who are struggling with that. So I think it's hard, the comparative of the tests are different. So that's probably the answer to the question, is that it's really a harder test. It's a more of a higher level thinking test.
That's all I have.
Couple questions. Thank you for that presentation. I love, you said it at the end, you said the word intentional. I love that word. I think it's a great word. We're laser focused on what we're doing. And Dr. Woodford, you said you want to be in the top 10%. That'd be awesome. We got to pass 34 divisions to do it. So you have to be intentional on analyzing data and saying this is what we're doing great. This is where we need improvement. So, but there is a lot of improvement, so there's a lot to be happy about. Couple questions though, for the Bedford County for math. Grade 6, we're doing pretty good. All of a sudden, there's a big old drop in grade 7, and then there's a pretty substantial recovery in grade 8. So I know you're trying to analyze on that, but any top of mind thoughts on what happens there, and then when they get to grade 8, or is there extra support or something that's then helping them then recover?
Sure. Yeah, and that's a good question, and some of that is just the way we sequence the courses. In fact, that's probably the primary reason why. So if you're a 6th grade student, every 6th grade student is going to take that math SOL, 6th grade math. Once we get into the advanced courses, 7th grade math students take first semester grade 7 math, then they move into math 8 SOLs, and then they take the math 8 SOL in 7th grade. So what we've done is we've removed a large pool of advanced students from that testing pool who are reflecting our math 8 scores. So we have some 7th graders taking the math 8 test in addition to all the math 8 scores. So it kind of inflates math 8. And it doesn't necessarily reflect all 7th graders. So if those kids had taken the math 7, I don't think the score would be as low.
Okay.
And the other thing is that's when they really start learning those algebra concepts, which is really tough for a kid that age.
So for kids that age, which is important that they grasp, multiplication, just being able to, multiplication, division, just being able to recite that pretty quick. Because as the concepts build on themselves, it gets harder and harder. If you're struggling with that, you're not going to.
That's right. If it's not automatic, it becomes very challenging to work through advanced material.
All right, cool. I know that last year we had classroom size concerns at some small schools like Otter River. It was great to see the improvement that they had in reading, math, social studies. So that's great. So I think that is a testament to the team. Everyone really diving in. That's the team. That's the students focusing. That's the parental involvement. Obviously, that's strong at that school. So I just think that I just wanted to bring that up. I know you said science is probably the same thing. Everyone's kind of struggling, but I don't necessarily know why they are. But if you think that's sequencing as well?
Yeah, and I'll say first of all, I don't want to say we anticipated this, but this has been a struggle since we came back from the pandemic. And it's been a source of frustration for all of us and principals because you typically don't, when you struggle, science is one of those you can always count on to get the passing rates. When they initiated the new science standards last year, we knew they were going to be tough. We knew that they were going to be very rigorous. We talk about hands-on in science, but they really were just assessed on facts, very low level. Now they're truly assessed on very deep learning, and they have to apply that content. The other thing is the science test is a lot of reading. And if our students aren't reading at a high level, they're just not going to do well in the science. So it's just a tougher test. And so we are, in elementary specifically, they're going to have to really think about how they teach science. And we can't just say, take a few minutes just to teach it, just to check that box. They're going to have to be, like you said, very intentional in providing those hands-on, in-depth studies. We do think we have a really good curriculum, and that's something we talked about in CPO. We think that's aligned. We're going to be okay with that, but if we don't provide those experiences where students are applying those concepts rather than just memorizing, that's going to be a struggle. In middle school, and this is where I was talking about that sequence. So previously, we would take a science 6, which was a life science, and then 7th grade was physical science, 8th grade earth science. In 7th grade, in that physical science class, you're actually tested on 2 years worth of material, life and physical. So that meant our teachers were just covering as quick as they can, just getting the content. Students weren't doing labs. They weren't doing things like that are good for science. And really, middle school students were not really getting what they needed. And so what we did is we slowed that down. And so now we have a science 6, which is life and physical science concepts. So they have a foundation when they leave 6th grade. 7th grade, they'll take life science, which was previously 6. And then 8th grade, they take physical science. And we've moved earth science up to the high school. What that's done is it's slowed it down, and we've taken 2 years worth of content, spread it out to 3 years. That's something our middle school science teachers asked for years, and now they're really feeling like they can actually do some of the labs and hands-on. Next year will be the first year it's fully implemented. It took time to get it going, but it's going to be fully implemented. And then in high school, biology's been tough, and I'll say in all the subjects, the issues with teachers not fully certified, long-term science is the one that takes the biggest hit. It's just hard to find certified teachers, so it's a struggle, and there's a lot of turnover. What we have done is we've encouraged teachers to teach environmental science before biology if students don't seem ready for biology. because the requirement is that they are tested in biology in high school. It doesn't matter when they're tested, it just matters that they're tested. So if a kid's not ready, we're gonna slow that down. Environmental science is meant to really prepare them for biology, so they'll go from grade 8 science to environmental science, then bio. So we're hoping that will help as we change that sequence next year. That's a lot. I'm happy to answer any other questions, but
Yeah.
sequencing more than any other subject really matters in science right now.
And I think one of the things we often forget when we're looking at scores, we're always wanting to see them go up. But we also have what's happening in the background. We're having teacher turnover, brand new teachers coming to a subject. A teacher to really learn the subject well takes 2 to 3 years. So if you're constantly having turnover, all of those gains you're making, if you lose that wisdom and knowledge, you're starting back over. So it is a kind of come and go that I think we struggle with, and our team focuses a lot with our new teachers with curriculum and things like that.
Any other questions or comments? And I just wanted to call out, I know you mentioned toward the end, implementation of new English, math, and history standard next year. So again, we're changing the standard, so what we've been comparing to is gonna be totally different yet again. So it kind of goes back to your question of how does 2012 compare to now, so, okay. All right, well, thank you. Nice work. Definitely good to see the improvements and a lot of green, so really appreciate the efforts of the team, so. All right, Dr. Woodford, informational items?
So the IGA committee met on May the 10th to review 7 updated policies. These policies are being introduced tonight for information to be voted on at the July board meeting. We have policy DM, cash in school buildings. That policy was last reviewed in 2010. There are no proposed changes except for removal of an outdated legal reference. EBAA, reporting of hazards, again, proposed edits include removing some purpose statement, changing the wording to provide consistency with other policies and some of the legal references. FE, playground equipment, we made some edits to include some consistency in language and also to add some language about our current practice. Our maintenance department supports principals with inspections and repairs of playground equipment, and so we wanted to make sure we captured that in the policy since it was happening. GBEF and JHCL, one is an employee policy and one is a student policy for lactation support. The edits include additional language that the designated room for that be free from intrusion. Some, again, simple changes on the grading policy, IK, removal of the purpose statement to make some consistency in updating legal and cross-references. And then JO student records, proposed revisions include clarification on the use of some specific terms, including what is an educational record versus a scholastic record, and some additional language to conform to policy JBB and our current state code. If you have any questions, members of the IGA committee or staff here will be happy to answer them now.
Additional action items, 7.01 title grants, Dr. Woodford.
Last month, the board was presented with the Title I Part A, Title II Part A, and Title IV Part A applications for 2024-25. A correction was made to the Title I grant to remove the reference to professional development from the Virginia Center for Inclusive Communities. With that change, we're asking for the board to approve these 3 federal grants tonight so that we can start using the money in July.
Questions? Do I have a motion to approve 7.01?
So moved.
I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Daniels. Again, I'll ask for any discussion or questions. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 7.01 is approved. 7.02, gifted plan, Dr. Woodford.
Again, we're just asking for the approval of the gifted plan that was presented for information last month.
Any questions for Dr. Woodford around 7.02 gifted plan? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Holbrook, second. Second by Ms. Purvis. Again, I'll ask for any discussion. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 7.02 is approved. 7.03 literacy plan, Dr. Woodford.
The division literacy plan was presented last month for information, and since that time, the CPO committee has discussed it at their June 4th meeting. We were able to answer several questions and discuss the process there. We are asking for approval of this plan tonight, and anyone on the CPO committee or myself or Dr. Trosper are happy to answer any questions that the rest of the board members may have.
Do I have a motion? Or, sorry, I should ask, is there any discussion?
She did a great, whoever put it all together did a great job. Very detailed.
Our reading specialist
appreciate
and
all
Dr.
that.
Trosper's team,
All of my questions answered. Good job.
absolutely.
And that is pretty good.
I know, I asked another.
All right, do I have a motion to approve 7.03?
So moved.
All right, by Mr. Nelms, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Hubach. Again, any questions? All right. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, 7.03 is approved. 7.04, advertise SV HVAC PPEA, Mr. Hagler.
Yes, we met with the facility committee and reviewed, it's been discussion about the HVAC for Stewartsville needing to be replaced. It would be slotted to be replaced next summer. The committee talked about which method to procure this and selected to go the PPA process. So the document in front of you is what we would advertise if the board approves the advertisement for this. Bids would be due in on July 29th. Since this is a PPA process, the committee would have to come back and evaluate any of the proposals and then make a selection, and that would come before the board on August 8th for approval of the selection of that. And once again, this would be slotted for the summer of 25 to replace the HVAC and a small part of the roof also on that.
Questions for the committee or Mr. Hagler? All right, do I have a motion to approve 7.04?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Holbrook. Second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Nelms. Discussion, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 7.04 passes. Category transfer, Mr. Hagler?
Yes, but with the finance committee, we're in group reviewing several things, including budget items that will come up a little bit later, but also a need to do one more final category transfer to finish off the year. We should end in pretty good shape. I'll report on the ending financials sometime in July or probably August. July is a little bit too close to the end of the year. But there is a need, two things I was accomplishing through this. Better reporting to the state on our vocational teachers. You can classify our technology teachers as either technology or vocational for consistency in reporting, and I think it better categorizes it as vocational teachers and what they're teaching. So moving that under the instructional major category away from technology and starting that in the current year. So that was moving that money over. And then there was a need for additional audit expenditures, legal expenditures, and also consulting expenditures in the administrative category. So I'm requesting, I don't think I'll need all of it, but just to make sure I can finish up the year here in June, $40,000 transferred from technology over to administration to finish up the year.
Any questions for Mr. Hagler? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Purvis. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes. 7.06, budget amendment, Mr. Hagler.
All right, so the good news is that the state passed the final budget. And compared to the budget this board passed earlier on in the year, we received an additional $1,089,000 that we could use. Met with the finance committee, talked about several different things that we could propose to the full board tonight on how to use that money. In the interim, the board of supervisors met and knew that we had received extra money. And I want to credit Mr. Hill and others that worked behind the scenes on this. There was some talk about taking the money and just reducing our budget by that amount and using it for another department. They took action Monday night. They did not take it away from us, but they did dictate that we needed to reduce our local funding to our operating fund. That's where most of everything's done. And move that over to our maintenance reserve fund for future reversion gap needs. There is a document I included for you all to vote on the budget, but I also wanted to include the LCI and the reversion document because I update this each year once I have a final state report. There's been a significant jump in the gap that we're going to be expecting, and I would expect that gap to continue until reversion hits in 28-29. So last year we were around the $8 million mark gap. This next year I projected 9.3. It grew by 1.3 million. You're going, how did it grow that much? Well, the last few years we've had significant influx of state money for salaries, and that takes a while to get into re-benchmarking into the calculations, and then it recalculates. So with the state giving more and more money for education, more education, you apply that differential of the LCI, it just grew by that much. So the positive news is we were able to hold on to that money with what the Board of Supervisors did, and that mitigated that future cliff when reversion happens in 28-29. So there's a document included with the budget document showing what my projections are as of this moment. The state continues to give more money for increases in salaries and stuff, so I expect that number to go up. If I were to guess, that number would probably be close to about 10 million when we get to 28-29. So we still have some more work to do, so we don't have a huge cliff. But even if you look at that, if 9.3 million went away from the state and we only had to deal with 500,000, that's better than dealing with 9.3 million. So this board and the Board of Supervisors has done a great job in preparing for that, so it's not a catastrophe. So I want to give credit to both boards in doing that, and continue to direct the board and try to do the numbers and prepare us as best as possible. With that, there are two documents there. Really, the revenue document is what you would be voting on tonight for the full budget, and then the expenditure budget's behind that. We really made no changes from your preliminary budget. We received $1,089,000 more from the state, and we reduced the local by $1,089,000 on the operating fund and put that local money into the maintenance reserve. So that's the only change, is the maintenance reserve went up, operating stayed the same, just swapped out that money. So no changes to your preliminary, the first budget you adopted. I'll leave it to the finance committee to talk about what we were thinking of doing with that money if it stayed in operating. I turn it back over to you on that.
Yeah, so couple questions. Well, first, let me publicly say thank you to the Board of Supervisors for allowing us to keep that 1.089 million for maintenance. That will help with the reversion as stated by Mr. Hagler. Question, now that we've received that into our maintenance, I want to make sure we have plans for those dollars for this upcoming year.
We have quite a few projects planned for the year. I've been working with the facilities committee. And so when you look at our cash flow, we won't spend it entirely down, because when we get to the HVACs for the high schools, those are gonna be high dollar ones. So, but we've probably got we got so many projects slotted for next summer, it's gonna be hard for staff to keep up with. But those dollars will be utilized, because we looked at our 5-year plan, and when we get to year 5, it went into the negative. So this will help that go into the positive for the overall replacement in the 5-year plan that we have just for HVAC, roofs, parking lots, painting.
So we're covered on that.
Yep.
Okay. So when we met last month with the finance committee, one of the things, there were a couple things. One, we were gonna put about 500,000 or a little over 500,000 into the maintenance. So half of it was going to maintenance anyway. So that's where we wanted it to go. Some of the other options that we had looked at was, one, we wanted to fund middle school sports. We've heard it repeatedly that we think that is a good fit for our middle schools. If they're active, they want to be there. We saw some of the things tonight about having things going on at school, people wanting to be there, results being better. So that was one of the topics that Mr. Daniels and I had looked at. We had also looked at the possibility of restoring some steps for secretaries, maintenance workers, nurses, psychologists. Randy, you'll have to help me out with that.
IT.
with that list. So
PT, OT,
Yep.
therapists.
So those that had not had step restorals, we had not planned to include the executive staff in those step restorals. And then there was a one-time fee, I think there was some maintenance positions that Randy had looked at, that was around $30,000. We don't have to do this tonight, but I do think it's important for us to come back and take a stab at possibly adding middle school sports. Just for the benefits of our students and how that impacts test scores, attendance, et cetera. But that was one of the things that we were looking at. Again, if we were to do that now, we have to go find the funding based on current budget of what do we cut or what do we change in order to add that. And that's okay, but that's a conversation we need to have. Now, we can certainly take it back to the finance committee meeting and say, okay, here's our recommendation of what we would like to do. But we would also like to hear from the board as you think through that and you've heard conversation. Are there things that we should be looking at in order to, is the classroom size, do we increase that? Or do we cut certain positions or programs? But of course, we would be working with staff to determine, what is the necessity or some of the things that we could possibly cut. But anything that I missed?
No, I think you got it.
So, all right. Anything to add, Mr. Agler?
I would just say once we get into the budget year, I know you'd want to do that sooner than later. As you get into the budget year, you see your true cost. It is a budget, so what's actually happening? What is the turnover? Are there any savings anywhere that you could, if you took any savings that you thought you had and you were in good shape, then you're permanently putting that in the budget. You'd have to budget that for next year. So there is
It's not a
possibility
one-time.
that I won't have you really don't have a good look at your budget and how your actual to budget until about October, I'm just being honest, because then you know how many students you have and what your turnover in staff is, and you can see it in the payroll. So it takes a while for that to flush out. So in July, it's too early to tell. But if you look at programs or things like that, then that's up to the board, and that would be an amended budget. We can work through the finance committee with that if you'd like.
Any other recommendations or ways of doing that?
I have a question, of course.
No worries.
How much would it be for each middle school sports program to start something? I mean, I'm assuming you're not gonna be able to start all sports.
Yeah, the
Well, they have.
Dr. Cornett can speak to that. The biggest need is that our athletic trainers are overtaxed right now, spread very thin. There could be 6, 7 events going on in one night. And they're trying to cover that as an athletic trainer if there's any accident or injury, and they're spread very thin. And when you think about high school, middle school, they could be over at JF and also have to be at Forest Middle. So part of adding middle school sports, the biggest cost, to be honest with you, of adding middle school sports was 3 new athletic trainers for each zone. So that was the biggest cost increase. Other than that, would have just been the cost for paying the coaches and some startup costs.
So what
So
was the dollar amount that we had on the,
Josh
On the
has-
train, the full
kind of full middle school sports?
327,507. That includes trainers, adding cross-country, outdoor track, and competition cheer. Also supporting more in the allotment for middle school and high school athletics. And also adding assistant coaches at middle schools, for middle school sports that do not have assistant coaches.
So $328,000.
So that would not include basketball or?
We already have.
We already have
Oh,
this is expanding.
I see.
The 3, cross-country, outdoor track, and competition cheer.
Nice.
So $328,000. All right, so based on what Mr. Hagler has presented, the budget amendment for tonight as presented in front of us, do I have a motion to approve as presented?
So moved.
So I have a motion by Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Holbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 7.06 passes. 7.07, approval of policy updates presented at the May 9th, 2024 board meeting. Dr. Woodford.
We are just asking for approval of the policies presented at the May 9th meeting. There's a link to those policies in board docs, and we're happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions on those policies? All right, do I have a motion to approve? All right, I have a motion by Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second? Second by Mr. Nelms. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 7.07 is approved. Do I have a motion to go into closed session?
Mr. Chair, pursuant to Code of, I make a motion that pursuant to Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A 1, 2, 3, to discuss the assignment, appointment, performance, disciplining, and release of contract for specific school board employees. 2, for the purpose of discussion or consideration of disciplinary matters concerning students enrolled in Bedford County Public Schools, including student number 062-024A. 3, for the discussion or consideration of the acquisition of real property for a public purpose or for the disposition of a publicly held real property where discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the public body.
I have a motion by Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holbrook. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? We're now in closed session. motion to come out of closed session?
So moved.
So I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Purvis. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're out of closed session. Ms. Johnson, if you'll certify the closed meeting.
Whereas the Bedford County School Board has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And where Section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Bedford County School Board hereby certifies that, to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed in the closed meeting to which the certification applies, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered.
Yes.
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 Have a motion on action on the closed meeting.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve or uphold the superintendent recommendation for student number 062024A.
I have a motion by Mr. Daniels. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Dr. Hubach. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Holbrook. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Superintendent's report, Dr. Woodford.
Dr. Bergen regrets that he was unable to attend tonight's board meeting due to a family obligation, and he has asked that I share the following statement on his behalf. As I approach the end of my service as your superintendent at the end of this month, I am filled with a profound sense of gratitude and pride. Having had the opportunity to serve the Bedford County community for the past 3 years has been a privilege and an honor. Together, we have weathered storms and celebrated triumphs. We have navigated through challenges with resilience and embraced opportunities with enthusiasm. To our administrators, teachers, and staff, your commitment to excellence, your passion for teaching, and your unwavering support for our students have been the cornerstone of our success. Your hard work and dedication have not gone unnoticed, and I'm deeply grateful for all that you do. To our parents and families, your partnership and support have been invaluable. Your involvement in your child's education is a testament to your commitment to their success, and I thank you for entrusting us with their learning and growth. To our students, you are the heart and soul of our school community. Your curiosity, creativity, and resilience inspire us every day. As you journey forward, I hope that the lessons you've learned, both inside and outside the classroom, will serve you well in all of your future endeavors. And to the board, executive team, and the other members of our central support team, thank you for allowing me the opportunity to work alongside of you. Our collective dedication to providing the best possible education for our students has been unwavering. I am immensely proud of what we have achieved together, and I wish you all continued success. Now, as is our tradition during the superintendent's comments, let's celebrate some of the accomplishments of our students and staff over the past month. The students ended the school year strong, showing their skills. Forest Middle School showed their writing expertise at the Regional Young Writers Competition, and also the Forest Middle School drone team competed in the National Rec Drone Competition for the first time and brought home a 4th and an 8th place. Congratulations to you all. Science also kept our students busy this past month. We had 2 winners for the Regional 5th Grade Science Challenge and many placing winners for the Middle School Regional Science Fair. Congratulations to all of you. We also had students experience MWEE, Meaningful Watershed Educational Experiences. Thanks to grant funding and partnership with the James River Association, environmental educators visited every 7th grade classroom to discuss the importance of taking care of our watershed. They also got to complete a paint out pollution service project and participated in a field trip to River's Edge Park to complete biotic and abiotic water quality tests. We appreciate Mrs. Allison Kapler writing and being awarded a grant to fund this learning opportunity for all of our 7th graders in Bedford County. Bedford County racked up in the spring sports state championships this season. All 3 zones had something to celebrate. Jefferson Forest had the boys soccer and softball teams. Both win their district and region tournaments and take runner-up in the state championships. Liberty High School's track and field again took home state champs in the 4x8, along with many other first and second place titles. Stanton River softball also held district and region titles and came in second place in the state championship. Our very own Golden Eagle, Emily Wood, hit her 500th strikeout mark. Congratulations to all these teams, as well as all the athletes who placed individually, and those students and staff who made all district, all region, and all state. We are so proud of you. We ended May by celebrating all 3 high schools' graduating seniors. We had a wonderful day hearing the speeches, listening to the memories and the inside jokes from each school. Hats off to you all, and we wish you the very best in your future endeavors. Dr. Bergen surprised the last 2 Bedford Best recipients last month, Mrs. Marie Levine from Stanton River Middle School and Jennifer Faust from New London Academy. They were given the special Bedford's Best mug and showered with compliments from their fellow staff and students. Again, thank you to the Bedford Area Educational Foundation for their continued support of our staff. If you know someone you'd like to nominate, please find the links on our webpage and social media channels. Our graduating seniors weren't the only ones counting down the days. We were blessed to celebrate the 2023-2024 retirees from Bedford County. The years of service that filled the room from custodians, paraprofessionals, nutrition workers, nurses, administrative staff, bus drivers, and teachers was remarkable. Thank you all for your dedication and commitment to education. Your impact is unremarkable. May is full of celebrating America and the men and women who serve our country every day and those who have served in the past. For the first time, BCPS held a military signing day for our graduating seniors, as well as surrounding Region 2000 seniors. The National D-Day Memorial hosted students from Amherst, Appomattox, Campbell, Bedford, and Lynchburg City, along with elected officials and representatives from the local military groups to celebrate these students joining the military after graduation. Thank you to the JROTC and Dr. Wells, Superintendent of Amherst County Schools, for your contributions for that day. In the spirit of celebrating those who have served our country, Montvale Elementary hosted the Run for the Wall. If you're not familiar with this event, Run for the Wall is an organized cross-country motorcycle ride to honor our veterans, their families, and friends to raise awareness of those still missing, our prisoners of war, and those missing in action. The ride, or the run, as many motorcyclists call it, starts in California and 10 days later ends at the Vietnam Memorial Wall in our nation's capital. For close to 20 years, one of the official stops on their journey has been Montvale Elementary. As always, the bikers were greeted with flying flags and chants of the USA. They were served a lunch that was donated graciously from the community with the help of all of the Patriots' parents and staff. The program was thoughtful and well put together. They enjoyed their day tremendously. I encourage you all to attend these events if possible because they are truly amazing. Thank you to the staff who made this day incredible. Not just our oldest and smallest students celebrated the history of our nation and those who served this past month. All BCPS students recognized Memorial Day, Armed Forces Day, and D-Day in their studies last semester. It is truly remarkable to teach our students about the rich history of our country and what it stands for right here in Bedford County. Another acknowledgement is the Asian Pacific American Heritage Month. It's celebrated in the month of May. Our students celebrated the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander communities whose ingenuity, grit, and perseverance has continued to keep America great. Lastly, here are 3 things you need to know for this month. If you need to know more about the summer nutrition program for your child, we have listed more information about the schools providing meals and other information on our website. You can also check out the pinned post on our Facebook to link you to all of this information. Again, I know most of you have your summers planned out, but you still have some options. The list on our website is updated frequently with new information for various camps. And thirdly, Bedford County Park and Rec has opened registration for fall sports. Their Facebook page and website has a list of the available sports and registration forms. Finally, I would like to just add my own personal comments. On behalf of the executive staff, central office staff, and school administration, we want to take a moment to welcome Mr. DuPere to Bedford County Public Schools. We have enjoyed getting to meet him over the last few days as we start our journey forward. And I'd also like to take this time on behalf of those people to thank Dr. Mark Bergen for his service to Bedford County Schools for the last 3 years. In his time with us, we have increased our CTE offerings. We've begun to save for the reversion cliff that is coming. We started recognizing staff through the Bedford Best program. We focused on support for instruction, extracurricular, and sports. We started a student advisory board and much, much more. We wish him the very best in his future endeavors and thank him for the time and dedication he's given to Bedford County Public Schools. Mr. Chairman, this concludes the superintendent's comments.
Thank you. All right, committee reports, Mr. Holbrook.
So, the facility committee had a meeting on, 31st, and, we went over which was mentioned earlier, the PPEA, HVAC advertising for Stewartsville. Reviewed the 5-year CIP plan, which we're gonna bring back in the July meeting. Some of the changes, whatever we made to the whole board. And some ongoing projects are the Boonesboro atrium repair, Manita windows replacement. Hopefully that happens this summer. Floor tile at Bedford Primary, painting, roof at Huddleston, and a roof at Otter River School. And then far as at Stanton River and Liberty, the big project, August 30th, we'll have a 65% design review meeting. And then November 22nd will be 95% design review from the adjustments made on the first one. And hoping to start January 13th on those. That's on the canopies in the auditorium. And the auditoriums will be closed for a year during the construction, of course. And they're gonna make accommodations for that at each school. And then on June 27th, we'll be reviewing the bids for the wastewater treatment plant at Stanton River. So that's really about it.
Got a lot going on.
That's a lot going on.
That's awesome.
Making progress.
That's progress. That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Dwayne?
I was unable to make the governor's board, school board meeting because we had a special call meeting that same day. So that's all I got for that one.
Okay. Ms. Purvis?
The CPO meeting met, we discussed a lot about the special needs program that we have, and just understanding a little bit more about how these needs are being met and addressed. We didn't really come to any changes or anything, but we did get some really valuable information. And we also briefly discussed the literacy plan, but then we worked on it at home, so that would be addressed.
That's what we did. Our next scheduled meeting is July 23rd for that.
Mr. Daniels?
IGA met, previously we had presented the policy updates that we had for information tonight. We were supposed to meet this week, but we had to postpone that. We're just trying to get another date down for that, so I'm just trying to get that locked down.
Okay, and then we talked about finance committee tonight, things that we had talked about, possibly making changes to the budget. We'll meet again.
Yep.
And we'll come back with some recommendations on that and of course get feedback from you guys. Comments and concerns?
So, just going through the superintendent comments, and first off, hope everyone's enjoying their summer. we are. We had 2 kids that graduated, so we're very excited about that, for them to move on in our family. But I'm really proud to see the policy that we passed a couple years ago, promotion of patriotism in action. That was something that was, it's part of who Bedford is, and I'm glad that, you know, we all brought it to the forefront, and I'm glad that at the school level, at the division level, you guys are executing on that. So tremendous, thanks for me, for sure, and I think that the whole community really likes that. Finally, the Stanton River softball team, their poster that they had was really awesome, and they really brought it. So I just encourage all of our teams to really, think about how they want to have their posters look next year. That was really cool. That's it.
It was cool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to shout out to all the graduates, congratulations and safe summers. Also wanted to comment on the Run for the Wall. I was able to attend that, and Montvale Elementary School is amazing. They prepare all year for that, and the kids just eat it up. There were over 700 bikers there by some estimates, but a lot of bikers, and a lot of them from California, and they pick up pods as they come across the country. But not only that, but they give a gift to Montvale School, and this year they gave them a check for $7,000 to put towards a school project, something to better their schools, and then the kids give back to these guys, and to have all of those vets in the room saying the Pledge of Allegiance and singing the national anthem was just awe-inspiring. And so if Bedford is patriotic, it was at Montvale Elementary School that day. It was wonderful.
Awesome.
So I attended a couple of the graduations, and congratulations to all of the graduates. It was my first time attending the graduation over in the Vine Center, so that was pretty amazing. Very well done, very organized, and very impressive. I also, the STEM, and I didn't mention this before, but the STEM school board approved their budget, so I wanted to make sure that I threw that in. I forgot to do that before. I also attended the robotics science summer camp that Cindy Watson is putting on, with a lot of volunteers throughout the community who are helping with that, volunteer teachers as well as students. And it was amazing what they're doing over there. So hats off to them, as well as to all the volunteers. And from what I understand, that robotics camp that she's doing has students from all over the area, including homeschoolers and other private schools, other public schools. So she's really just doing an amazing job. And she said they had several, like 100 and something kids, so that was amazing. I also went to Boonesboro Elementary twice, and we did rapid calculation drill games. One of the things that some of the upper level math teachers are telling me is that these kids, because of the gaps that we had with COVID, they don't really know their multiplication, division, addition, subtraction really quickly. And so I went into the couple of classrooms and I did rapid calculation drills, which, if you don't know what that is, I can test your math right now. 2 times 7 plus 6 minus 10 times 10 divided by 25 equals? 4. Good job. So that's what rapid calculation drills are. And saying them that quickly, they were a little not used to that. So, but the teachers were realizing the importance of it and how much fun it could be for the kids. And so I would love to, and I'll talk to Dr. Dupere, or Mr. Dupere, but I'd love to do like instead of a spelling bee, or not instead of, but along with a spelling bee, to do a math calculation bee, district-wide, to just try to encourage that. That'd be cool. So I think that would be really fun. So anyway, that was some of the things I did this week.
Speaking of promoting patriotism, I don't know if y'all have seen this. I've talked to Josh about these. me and my wife, we purchased enough decals for every school bus in our fleet, which is a lot. So I've talked to Josh about location and regulations and stuff where it needs to be placed, but if y'all are cool, we just need board consensus on these. These would be put on the buses as they come in for like inspections and routine maintenance, a lot of stuff like that. So this is available for every bus in our fleet. So I don't know if y'all wanna.
Consensus?
Absolutely.
Cool.
You can have consensus.
Thank you. And another thing, I got a text message from a friend of mine. The Manita Rattlesnakes are playing tonight at 6:30. Well, they've already played anyway. But as of a little bit ago, he texted me and said they were up 7-0. So they're playing the All-Star Championship game. So kudos to them. They were winning 7-0. So don't know if the team came back. I haven't gotten that update yet, but I do know they're doing very well. So that's all I got.
Good deal. Mr. Holbrook? All right. Well, I have a couple things. I did get to attend the graduations, so I won't just echo that. I always enjoy, and you've heard me say this, all three ceremonies are special, but you get to see how different all three schools are and what all three schools have to offer. And so if you haven't been able to attend all three, I certainly recommend that because you get to see what all three high schools are made of and what they're about, and really brag on what they stand for. And so I enjoyed that. Also got to partake in the retirement, which that was a scary picture. That was a lot of Marcuses. But that was really a fun evening. There were hundreds of years being celebrated in that room. And it was interesting to hear and talk to some of those employees. And 40, 50, I think we had one that was 50 years that was finally retiring and said it was a hard decision. So congratulations to them. I wanted to also say thank you to all of our teachers, to all of our staff, to this team. You made another very successful year, and now it's time to plan for the next one. So that's the fun part. So thank you for that. Couple of housekeeping items. Want a committee change I would like to announce. I'm going to appoint Dr. Hubach on the IGA committee. And that committee will be made up of Mr. Daniels and Dr. Hubach going forward. So IGA committee will be those two. We had discussed several months ago where we have agreed to the VSBA contract that will end on June 30th. And we had agreed that we would be using our attorney for policy. And I would like to make a recommendation and get board consensus that we utilize the SBMA policy service. But I want to take us through the change and the savings by doing this. So if you'll just give me a few minutes to do that. But with VSBA, our current amount that we're paying is $21,263 a year, plus the policy services of $3,750 a year, plus board docs at a discounted rate of $10,000 a year. So if you look at that as a whole, $35,013 that we're paying for both VSBA and board service or policy services and board docs. By moving over to SBMA, which they will do in addition to policy services, they will also do an audit of our policies as part of the fee if we agree and have board consensus to do that. That fee, this is if all 7 board members, and I don't have that validation, are all members of SBMA, but if all 7 were, that would be $1,750 plus plus the SBMA policy would be $2,900. So you're looking at, and let me make sure, board docs, we would still pay $13,000 because it's no longer discounted.
Yeah.
But if you take the $13,000, the $1,750, and the $2,900, you guys check behind me, but my math says that's $17,650. So we're looking at a savings of $17,363. And we're still receiving the same services and board doc stays intact that we currently have today. So,
No brainer.
is there any concerns about doing that? So, and what I'm recommending that's different than what we had board consensus is that we're now gonna pick up the SBMA board policy or policy services versus using our attorney for those, policy services. So do I,
So what if, we aren't all members? Is it a different price?
Yeah.
You said that was
so you
contingent.
would, if all are not members, you would just simply reduce it by $250 per
Oh,
person
okay.
that is not a member.
Gotcha, okay.
Any questions or concerns? So do I have board consensus to allow the superintendent to, or for me to join the SBMA and to ask the superintendent and their staff to start that policy services? Sorry, I'm trying to get my words correct, so it's right for the minutes.
I'm
So,
good.
Mr. Holbrook, Mr. Nelms, Ms. Purvis, Dr. Hubach. All right, so we have consensus.
Is the audit
That
separate?
does not affect the use of the information.
Oh, no, not at all. No, not at all.
It's just an additional.
Just substitutes one for.
What was that savings amount again?
17,363 is what I've got. All right, that's all I have. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
So I have a motion by Mr. Nelms. Mr. Holbrook, you have a second? Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned.
I'll make it.
I think
Pretty
you
much
already
be
have
working.
to.